Chapter 263. The Black Ice Martial King and the Heavenly Martial King? Qin Yu did not expect that at the crucial moment of entering the ancient Emperor Mystery Realm, the two top kings' palaces would come to the ancient Imperial Palace to deal with him. No wonder the Punishment Hall would send out several purple-robed elders. Follow us. Without further ado, the purple-robed elders brought Qin Yu to the Punishment Hall. Outside the Punishment Hall, many elders and disciples had already gathered. Obviously, they had heard the news and came to watch. In the spacious Punishment Hall, there were rows of purple-robed martial ancestors standing on both sides. On the main seat, there was a white-haired old man who did not smile. This person was the hall master in charge of the Punishment Hall, Yi Xiaobo. Below the main seat there were two figures sitting. One was wearing a golden robe with a dignified face. It was the Heavenly Martial King, Zhao Mingtian. The second person was wearing a white robe. His body was emitting a cold aura that froze the void. The Black Ice Martial King, Li Huanglong. With the arrival of Qin Yu, everyone in the Punishment Hall looked at Qin Yu. Facing those dignified gazes, Qin Yu did not change his expression and walked to the center of the Punishment Hall indifferently. Shen Feng, you should know about the matter. The Heavenly Martial King and the Black Ice Martial King accused you of killing Zhao Junhai and Li Tianxian. Do you have anything to say? Yi Xiaobo spoke with a dignified voice, with the aura of a superior who controlled life and death. This is purely groundless, Qin Yu said indifferently. Although with his current strength, he was not afraid of Zhao Mingtian and Li Huanglong. But he would not be stupid enough to admit it directly. Groundless. A voice with strong killing intent appeared. Zhao Mingtian's gaze was sinister like a poisonous snake, as if he wanted to devour Qin Yu. It was Zhao Mingtian who had seen that figure in the blood god jade. The moment he saw Qin Yu, he was almost certain. Qin Yu was the one who killed Zhao Junhai. Whether it's groundless or not, we'll know with a test. Li Huanglong also spoke sinisterly. The air was faintly colder. With that, Li Huanglong flipped his right hand, and a strange stone appeared in his hand. Countless Dao runes circled around the strange stone like layers of clouds and mist. It was quite mysterious. Heavenly Soul Stone. Yi Xiaobo's expression changed slightly. It seemed that Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian had come prepared and did not want the disciplinary hall to intervene. Heavenly Soul Stones were a kind of wondrous stone that naturally contained soul power. It was rumored that the Heavenly Soul Stone had been refined with a secret technique. As long as one came into contact with it, one would be able to see the memories in one's soul. Clearly, Li Huanglong wanted to use the Heavenly Soul Stone to probe Qin Yu's memories. Put your hand on it. Li Huanglong ordered indifferently as he flicked his finger. The Heavenly Soul Stone floated in front of Qin Yu. Qin Yu chuckled upon hearing this. Using the Heavenly Soul Stone to probe would indeed not harm one's soul like using soul searching and soul refining. However, doing so would be equivalent to exposing all of his secret. Qin Yu would never agree to such a thing. Did you not hear what I said? Put your hand on it. An icy aura burst out from Li Huanglong's figure when he saw Qin Yu remaining still. At that instant, the entire disciplinary hall was filled with an icy aura with him at the center. Even the purple-robed martial progenitors could feel chills running down their spines, and immediately defended themselves with the rules of the heavens and earth. Trying to order me around? You're not worthy enough. Qin Yu remained in place. Qin Yu, however, appeared to be completely unaware of the bone-chilling coldness that filled the entire void. His expression remained the same. With the outstanding aura of the dragon god tyrannical body, he could easily ignore the icy aura. This kid. Seeing this, Zhao Mingtian's eyes flickered with astonishment. Even a martial progenitor could not resist the icy aura emitted by Li Huanglong's 9 frigid mysterious eyes. Qin Yu, a mere martial god, actually acted as if nothing had happened. Did Qin Yu have some kind of incredible artifact? Die. Li Huanglong's eyes turned cold as he made his move. A 10-zhang long icy hand appeared in the air and grabbed at Qin Yu. Yi Xiaobo tried to stop it. However, considering the current situation of the ancient imperial palace, he held himself back. The death of the two princes of the royal palaces, who were peerless geniuses with high-tier sacred flesh, was not a trivial matter. It would cause the ancient imperial palace to fall into chaos. Therefore, it was not a bad idea to let Qin Yu test it out. If it wasn't Qin Yu, everything would be fine. However, if it was Qin Yu, the two royal palaces would be able to deal with it. Qin Yu had no intention to resist Li Huanglong's attack. He remained still in place. Crack! However, as the icy hand was about to make contact with Qin Yu, a brilliant glow swept past. The icy hand immediately shattered into pieces and scattered in the air. The icy aura in the disciplinary hall immediately vanished. This force. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian's expressions changed slightly when they saw the multicolored light. They looked at each other. Ancient Emperor. Yi Xiaobo stood up abruptly and looked at the person who had appeared out of nowhere. That person was the Ancient Emperor. The Ancient Emperor has come out of seclusion. The elders and disciples in the disciplinary hall were in an uproar when they saw the Ancient Emperor. Ever since the news spread that the Ancient Emperor was nearing the end of his lifespan. In the past few decades, the Ancient Emperor had never shown himself and had never seen anyone. This had caused all sorts of rumors to spread in the ancient imperial martial world. However, no one had expected the Ancient Emperor to come out of seclusion today. Ancient Emperor! Even Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian greeted the Ancient Emperor. Regardless of the Ancient Emperor's condition, they would not go against him openly. Since when did an outsider have the right to punish a disciple of the ancient imperial palace? The Ancient Emperor's deep eyes were filled with majesty, and his benevolent face was filled with a sense of authority. I was rash previously. I hope the Ancient Emperor can forgive me. Li Huanglong's face darkened. He had not expected the Ancient Emperor to not give him any face and reprimand him. However, this lad is related to the cause of my son's death. I hope the Ancient Emperor can deal with him fairly. Li Huanglong raised his head and his expression returned to normal. However, he was still concerned about Qin Yu. Ancient Emperor, the Black Ice Martial King, has brought the Heavenly Soul Stone here. We will be able to verify whether my son was killed by this lad. Zhao Mingtian also opened his mouth and added, "There is no need to use the Heavenly Soul Stone to verify that your son was not killed by Shinfeng. He was killed by a beast." The Ancient Emperor looked at the Heavenly Soul Stone and said, "We saw it with our own eyes." Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian walked in from the crowd of elders and disciples outside the hall. However, someone from the ancient imperial palace sent a message before he died. He said that he saw my son killed by this lad. Li Huanglong frowned and did not let the matter rest. Ancient Emperor, we are only letting this lad use the Heavenly Soul Stone to check his memory. It will not cause any harm to him. Do you have to stop us? Zhao Mingtian asked. Are you questioning me? The Ancient Emperor's face became more serious. I don't dare to question you. I just want to know the cause of my son's death. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian did not back down. What if I don't agree? The Ancient Emperor's voice gradually turned cold as rays of light appeared behind him. At this moment, the law enforcement hall was dead silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Everyone looked at the Ancient Emperor, Zhao Mingtian, and Li Huanglong in shock. Were the ancient imperial palace and the top ancient imperial palace going to fall out? Chapter 264. Then please forgive us? Suddenly, Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian pounced forward like ferocious beasts that had been released from their cages. Violent laws of the heavens and earth rampaged in the void, causing one's heart to tremble. The power of a peak 9th rank martial ancestor was fully displayed at this moment. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian's attacks seemed to be directed at Qin Yu. However, they were actually targeting the ancient emperor. Suppress! The ancient emperor roared as thousands of rays of light exploded. Each ray of light contained vast laws of the heavens and earth, instantly piercing through the void. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian's laws of the heavens and earth were directly shattered by the rays of light. A loud crash was heard. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian were both sent flying, crashing heavily into the barrier of the punishment hall. Even the restrictions and barriers of the ancient palace were directly shattered. Ancient Emperor, we have offended you today. We will personally come to apologize in the future. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian's voices could be heard as a whole appeared in the disciplinary hall. The two of them had already broken through the void and left the Sumeru realm. Qin Yu's eyes flickered as he looked at the two people who had disappeared. Although Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian had been sent flying, they were not injured. They had only exchanged blows for a short while and immediately fled. This behavior was like, "This matter is over. Let's disperse." After saying this, the ancient emperor waved his sleeve and disappeared with Qin Yu and the other two. The Black Ice Martial King and the Celestial Martial King were defeated in a single move. This strength is too strong. Haha, as expected, the rumor about the ancient emperor's lifespan not being long is completely a rumor. Do you think the ancient emperor's cultivation has already touched the martial emperor realm? If that's the case, then our ancient imperial palace will be the only force in the 7 great martial realms with a martial emperor realm expert. The elders and disciples of the ancient imperial palace were shocked when they saw the ancient emperor's great power. Whoosh whoosh! In the sky of the ancient imperial city, 2 figures broke through the void and fled. They only stopped in the void when they were tens of thousands of miles away. Sure enough, the rumors are true. That old fellow's time limit is approaching. These 2 people were Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian, who had come out of the ancient imperial palace. It's time for a change in the position of the ancient emperor. Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian had uncontrollable excitement on their faces. After discussing for a while, they immediately flew away. It was impossible to overthrow the ancient imperial hall with the strength of a single Wang mansion. They also needed allies. Cough cough. Inside the glorious palace, the ancient emperor, who had appeared with Qin Yu and the others, suddenly coughed violently, his face pale. "Grandfather, are you injured?" Seeing this, Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian turned pale with fright. "It's fine." Rays of light gathered from all around the palace. The ancient emperor's expression returned to normal. Is this an old injury from failing to break through to the martial emperor realm? Qin Yu could tell that the ancient emperor's injuries were not caused by his fight with Li Huanglong and the ancient emperor. "Tomorrow, I will open the ancient emperor mystery dimension," the ancient emperor said after suppressing his injuries. Tomorrow? Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian were confused. According to the plan, the ancient emperor's son's plan would only begin half a month later. Could it be because of the Black Ice Martial Mansion and the Celestial Martial Mansion? Qin Yu asked. That's right. The ancient emperor nodded slightly. Weren't they repelled? Chen Jiuxing and the ancient emperor were still confused. From the fact that the two of them retreated immediately after the fight, I'm afraid that their real purpose of entering the ancient imperial hall is not to deal with me, but, Qin Yu looked at the ancient emperor. They must be testing my condition, the ancient emperor said. Because of this, the ancient emperor decided to open the ancient emperor mystery dimension in advance. Could it be that they really dare to rebel? Chen Jiuxing and the ancient emperor's faces changed drastically. If that was the case, the ancient emperor martial world would be completely changed. It's not that they dare to rebel. I'm afraid that they will definitely rebel, Qin Yu said. In the previous fight, Li Huanglong and Zhao Mingtian should have already found out that the ancient emperor was weak. Moreover, no one in the ancient imperial hall had been recognized by the ancient emperor. Therefore, the experts in the ancient imperial hall were all in a state of disunity. They would definitely not let go of such a great opportunity. This is the map of the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension. Take it back and study it carefully. The ancient emperor took out an ancient map and waved his hand to signal Qin Yu and the other two to leave. Ancient Emperor! After Qin Yu and the other two left, the ancient emperor flicked his finger. A figure appeared in the palace like a ghost. It was a martial ancestor who was wearing black armor. Even his face was covered by the armor. Have you found out about the spies that infiltrated the palace and the people who have already betrayed us? The ancient emperor's voice was cold and indifferent. As the master of the ancient imperial hall, he was naturally aware of the ancient imperial martial world's movements, since he had already shed all pretense of cordiality. In that case, there was no need for him to turn a blind eye and pretend that he didn't know anything. Yes, I have. I can take control anytime. The black-armored martial ancestor's voice was emotionless, as if he was a puppet. When the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension opens, don't leave anyone who is suspicious alive. The ancient emperor ordered. Yes. The black-armored martial ancestor received the order and disappeared from the palace. The next day, early in the morning, Qin Yu, Chen Jiuxing, Chen Zilian, Zhou Yunlang, and the other disciples of the ancient imperial hall, the 10 strongest and most talented geniuses, were gathered in the forbidden area of the ancient imperial hall. The ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension was left behind by the 3 ancient emperors. There are many traps and restrictions inside. If you're not careful, you can lose your life. If you're afraid, you can leave now. In front of a white stone well that was 10 feet wide, the ancient emperor placed his hands behind his back and looked at Qin Yu and the others. No. They had been selected from the tens of thousands of disciples to participate in the plan of the ancient emperor's son. Naturally, none of the 10 of them would have any thoughts of retreating at this moment. Very well, go in. The ancient emperor took out a golden seal. The seal glowed and emitted a golden glow onto the ancient well. Immediately, above the ancient well, an ancient door that was about 10 feet wide appeared. As the door was opened, a misty mist could be seen inside, preventing anyone from seeing what was inside. However, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul were extremely excited when they sensed the aura emitted from the door. At that moment, even if they did not use their secret techniques, they could still clearly sense it. Behind the door was the real aura of the dragon tribe. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following the ancient emperor's voice, Qin Yu and the others immediately flew into the sky and entered the ancient door in the blink of an eye. As soon as Qin Yu entered the ancient door, he could clearly sense a spatial force encapsulating him. The next moment, Qin Yu appeared in front of an enormous building complex. The buildings were over a few thousand feet tall, as if they were built for ancient giants. This was the world within a world of the ancient Imperial Hall, the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension. Chapter 265. Is this an illusion? Qin Yu flew to a huge stone pillar. There were huge buildings all around, and further away, there was a gray mist rising, making it impossible to see anything clearly. After Qin Yu took a closer look, he discovered that he was currently in an enormous illusion array. Although the huge buildings that he saw now were all real, they were not real. However, there was no doubt that this world was an illusion. The golden flame heaven incinerating dragon is not in this area, and this illusion can suppress perception. In the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul said after carefully sensing, "Let's break out of the array first." Qin Yu flew quickly, relying on his attainments in the array Tao to find the array core of the illusion. 6 hours later, all of the array cores were found. There were a total of 190 distributed in 7 directions in a 7-star array, covering a radius of tens of thousands of miles. If it weren't for Qin Yu's proficiency in the array Tao, it would be impossible to get out of this illusion without 10 days to half a month. Strictly speaking, this illusion array was already showing signs of turning illusion into reality. After breaking out of the illusion, Qin Yu appeared in front of an ancient stone road. In front of him was a 1,000 feet tall stone door. A primordial aura was emitted from the stone door. Standing in front of this ancient door, Qin Yu felt as if he was in the ancient wilderness. It was as if there was a whole new world behind this ancient door. Crack! Battle Dragon true essence surged. Qin Yu pushed the door and entered. Behind the 1,000 feet stone door was an ancient palace. This palace was also incomparably huge. Stepping into the palace, one couldn't help but feel small. Boom! Right after Qin Yu entered the cave, a 10-foot-long ancient lightning suddenly struck down with a bang. Stepping forward, Qin Yu rushed forward, avoiding the ancient lightning. On the ground of the palace, the ancient runes lit up. When the ancient lightning touched the ancient runes, it immediately disappeared without a trace. Qin Yu turned around to take a look. He immediately understood. The entire palace was, in fact, a huge formation. Qin Yu's speed doubled, and in the blink of an eye, he crossed the ancient palace. Along the way, he dodged countless attacks from the heavenly lightning, earth fire, demonic sabers, and sharp sword. Finally, he arrived at the end of the palace. At the end, there was a passageway. There was no door to the passageway, and one could clearly see the flowers and plants outside. There was also sunlight shining in. Qin Yu walked out of the passageway and appeared on a vast and boundless land. Around him were enormous palaces arranged in neat rows, like giants standing firmly on the ground. This is the real ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension. Qin Yu flew up into the sky with excitement in his eyes. This was because this time, he could clearly sense a powerful dragon aura. Without a doubt, it was the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon. Judging from this power, I'm afraid it has already reached the peak of heaven rank. The dragon's soul was also very excited. The cultivation of a peak Tian grade dragon tribe member was equivalent to the peak martial progenitor realm. Fortunately, he did not advance to the saint level. Otherwise, Qin Yu would have to face a martial emperor realm dragon tribe member. Qin Yu flew in the direction of the golden flame sky incinerating dragon at an extremely fast speed. According to the map that the ancient emperor had given him, the location of the golden flame sky incinerating dragon was. It seemed to be the most dangerous chaotic region in the ancient emperor mystery dimension. The ancient emperor mystery dimension was divided into 7 regions. Among them, the region of the 3 emperors was the most important, as it contained the inheritance of the 3 emperors. The chaotic region was the most dangerous. There were many chaotic ancient beasts sealed in the chaotic region. Although the other regions were also dangerous, as long as one could pass the trial, one would obtain opportunities. The ancient emperor had given the 3 of them the map for the same reason. He wanted them to avoid the chaotic region and the other few dangerous regions so that they could reach the 3 emperors' region as soon as possible. Qin Yu flew for tens of thousands of miles and passed through many traps. An incomparably sharp and bone-chilling sword light suddenly slashed towards him. Zhou Yunlang! Qin Yu dodged the sword radiance in a flash and turned his head to take a look. A figure stepped on a sword of light and flew toward him at an extremely fast speed. It was Zhou Yunlang. Judging from Zhou Yunlang's appearance, he didn't seem to have come from the direction of the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension. Could it be that they had entered from different locations? I didn't expect you to enter the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension so quickly. Zhou Yunlang stepped on the sword radiance and held the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension in his hand. He looked at Qin Yu in astonishment. The reason why he could appear here so quickly was that his father had given him a precious treasure. When he entered, it affected the teleportation power. Therefore, he was able to enter the mystery dimension directly and didn't need to go through the illusionary realm and the trap. You came from the direction of the entrance. It seems that the ancient emperor has given you special treatment. Thinking about it, Zhou Yunlang looked at Qin Yu with a murderous gaze. He had an innate sword body. He had thought that the ancient emperor would value him greatly after entering the ancient emperor palace. But in the end, the ancient emperor had summoned Qin Yu. More importantly, the ancient emperor had personally come out of seclusion and saved Qin Yu from the two kings' mansions. Now that Qin Yu had appeared here so quickly, Zhou Yunlang naturally guessed that was the case. "I don't have time to play with you now. If you don't want to die, you'd better not come looking for me." The wildlands was right in front of him. Qin Yu had no interest in fighting with Zhou Yunlang. "Since you are in such a hurry, I can't let you leave so easily." Zhou Yunlang's sword essence surged. With a whistling sound, he slashed out with his sword. The sword essence was so strong that it even tore the void apart. Once Qin Yu died, Chen Jiuxing and the rest wouldn't be able to compete with him for the position of the ancient emperor's son. "Since you want to die so badly, I'll send you on your way." Qin Yu's gaze turned cold. With a dragon roar, green dragon aura surrounded him. His aura immediately surged. "Martial ancestor?" Zhou Yunlang, who was swinging his sword, suddenly narrowed his eyes. A look of shock appeared on his face. Boom! A dazzling fist radiance blasted through the void. Zhou Yunlang didn't even understand what had happened before he was blasted to smithereens. Roar! At this moment, a loud dragon roar could be heard from the horizon. All the living beings in the ancient Emperor Mystery Dimension felt a terrifying dragon aura descend. They all trembled in fear. Faintly, Qin Yu was able to see an enormous dragon silhouette condensing in the distant horizon. Although it was faintly discernible, the dragon aura continued to spread. "Have you sensed the dragon aura on my body?" Qin Yu looked at the eldritch region in the distance. His eyes were burning with passion as he flew toward the eldritch region at top speed. As for Zhou Yunlang, who had jumped out of nowhere, Qin Yu didn't care about him at all. He was just an ant who didn't know his own strength and wanted to kill him. It was unknown how big the great desolate region was. There were towering mountains in it, and huge rivers flowed endlessly. The ancient desolate era's aura that Qin Yu had sensed from the stone door earlier assaulted him once again. This time, it was 10 times stronger. This secret dimension isn't simple. The dragon soul had been excited when it saw the dragon aura of the golden flame heavenly dragon. Now that it looked at the eldritch region, it couldn't help but be surprised. The eldritch region gave it a feeling. It was as if someone had traveled through the eldritch region and moved the eldritch region here. The three ancient emperors. Qin Yu stood in the void and looked at the eldritch region. He muttered to himself. He was getting more and more curious about the three ancient emperors who had shocked the ancient times. Chapter 266. Roar. At the moment when Qin Yu was standing still, a ferocious beast that was dozens of feet long soared into the sky and opened its bloody mouth to bite Qin Yu. Although Qin Yu's aura had reached the martial progenitor realm, his dragon blood and dragon aura were fatally attractive to the ferocious beasts. Boom! The azure dragon aura surged like Shinran. Immediately, the martial progenitor realm ferocious beast was penetrated. Qin Yu waved his hand and gathered the blood of the ferocious beast and sealed it into the ancient seal of the divine dragon. In the ancient seal of the divine dragon, the fusion of the skeleton ghost king and the barbarian god emperor's body continued. After the fusion of the ferocious beast's blood, the divine light of the barbarian god emperor's body became brighter. The barbarian god emperor's body was being refined by the barbarian god emperor's ancient secret technique. As long as it continued to absorb the power of the blood, it would continue to grow stronger. The barbarian god emperor's body and the skeleton ghost king were a perfect match. As Qin Yu went deeper into the eldritch land, he encountered more and more ferocious beasts. Many of them even had the bloodlines of ancient beasts. However, all of them were killed by Qin Yu in the azure dragon battle form. The blood of those beasts also merged into the barbarian god emperor's body. 4 hours later, Qin Yu, who had killed his way all the way, appeared in front of a huge lake. The lake was tens of thousands of miles wide and endless. A cool breeze blew past, and the lake's surface was slightly glistening. It was quite beautiful. The golden flame heavenly dragon's aura was being emitted from this lake. Around the lake stood 6 towering mountains. Every mountain peak was surrounded by dense misty spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Natural 6 directions formation. Qin Yu flies to midair and observes the terrain of the 6 huge mountains with rapt attention. He discovered that the 6 giant peaks formed a natural profound formation. No wonder the golden flame heavenly dragon didn't leave this secret realm. It's been sealed. The dragon's soul said in realization. No, although this is the natural 6 directions formation, it's not a sealing formation. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. The connate 6 directions formation was a massive spirit-gathering formation. It was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and pouring it into the lake. If he didn't guess wrong, this was deliberately set up by someone. His goal was to have the heavenly 6 directions formation assist the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon in its cultivation. Rumble. Just as Qin Yu was observing the heavenly 6 directions formation, Qin Yu's expression changed. The lake exploded all of a sudden, causing water to splash in all directions. A vast aura descended upon the place. A giant fiery red figure stepped on the void and appeared above the lake. Golden Flame's heaven incinerating dragon. It was a 300-meter-long fire dragon. Its entire body was covered in sparkling and translucent fiery red dragon scales, as if they were burning flames. The 2 enormous fiery red dragon eyes had fiery dragon patterns floating on them, as if they were made of magma. An incomparably high temperature of flames swept out like a volcano. The water in the lake evaporated continuously, forming a world of mist. Why do you have the aura of my dragon clan? While Qin Yu was sizing up the golden flame heaven-burning dragon. The golden flame heaven-burning dragon's 2 fiery red dragon eyes also landed on Qin Yu, who was surrounded by azure dragon aura. The golden flame heaven-burning dragon had already gained intelligence. Naturally, it could tell that Qin Yu was a human and not a dragon clan member. However, the thick aura of dragon blood on Qin Yu's body made it curious. The golden flame heaven-burning dragon was confused and curious. It couldn't figure it out. It's because I have the bloodline of the dragon clan. Qin Yu's eyes flashed as he activated the main dragon bloodline in his body. The aura of dragon blood became even stronger. Not only did this golden flame heaven-burning dragon have intelligence, but it also didn't seem to reject humans. The fact that it didn't directly attack was the best proof. It seemed like the one who set up the heavenly 6 directions formation to help the golden flame heaven-burning dragon cultivate was definitely a human. The most likely ones were the 3 ancient sovereigns. However, the timing didn't seem to match. After all, the 3 ancient sovereigns were existences from the ancient era. No matter how slow the growth of the dragon clan was, it was impossible for them to cultivate from the ancient era to the present. Moreover, they had the help of the heavenly 6 directions formation. It's rare for a human to have the bloodline of the dragon clan. You're here for me, right? The golden flame heaven-burning dragon said after looking up and down at Qin Yu. That's right. Qin Yu nodded slightly. What's your purpose? The golden flame heaven-burning dragon asked. I can take you away from here. Qin Yu said. Leave? Are you trying to subdue me? The golden flame heaven-burning dragon immediately guessed Qin Yu's intention. Dragon flames burned all over its body, and heat waves swept out. Even the void was faintly distorted. Not subdue. Let's sign a soul contract and become equal creatures. How about that? Qin Yu's body was surrounded by azure dragon chi, resisting the heat waves. Human, you're quite bold. You actually want to attack me. The golden flame heaven-burning dragon was completely enraged. A vast and terrifying dragon aura swept out. As a member of the dragon clan, it was innately above all creatures. Whether Qin Yu subdued it or contracted it, this was a great humiliation for the golden flame heaven-burning dragon. If you stay here and cultivate for another few hundred years, it will be difficult for you to enter the divine level. But if you follow me, I can guarantee that within 100 years, you will enter the divine level and become the real Shinran. Qin Yu tried his best to persuade it. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Go to hell. The golden flame heaven-burning dragon was even angrier, and the flame dragon patterns on its body shone. A flame light beam hundreds of feet long, like the condensation of volcanic magma, with a destructive power, shot toward Qin Yu. Sky-swallowing dragon seal. Qin Yu moved his right hand, and a huge ferocious dragon head appeared and swallowed the flame light beam. Secret art of the Dragon Clan? The golden flame heaven-burning dragon was shocked. It didn't expect Qin Yu to have such an amazing secret art of the Dragon Clan. But the golden flame heaven-burning dragon's attack didn't stop. In an instant, hundreds of flame light beams erupted, like a meteor shower across the void, destroying heaven and earth. 9 Hell's Purgatory. Ghost Eye of Destruction. Heaven's Killing Formation. Dragon God Dominating Body. Heavenly Stellar Divine Light. Qin Yu didn't dodge at all, and used one divine ability after another to fight the golden flame heaven-burning dragon head-on. As for the immortal sacrifice forbidden technique and other killing moves, Qin Yu didn't use them. In this life, if he wanted to establish the eternal dragon nation, he couldn't suppress the dragon clan with brute force like in his previous life. Of course, if he wanted to subdue a noble creature like the dragon clan, Qin Yu had to completely defeat it. The strong were respected, and the weak were prey to the strong. This principle was the same everywhere. Boom, boom. The earth-shattering battle kept exploding in the Eldritch Land. The originally tranquil lake of thousands of miles had been destroyed into a mess. Even the 6 giant mountains were trembling incessantly. Cracks appeared on the mountains, and rocks fell in all directions. The more the battle, the more shocked the golden flame heaven-burning dragon was. Qin Yu, a human, not only had mastered several mysterious divine abilities and secret arts of the dragon clan. His physical body was as strong as a dragon's body, and he could fight it head-on. This great battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Countless living beings were shocked and terrified. Qin Yu and the golden flame heaven-burning dragon were fighting with all their might, and they were risking their lives. The number of injuries on their bodies continued to increase. After 3 days of fighting, Qin Yu's divine dragon body cracked, and golden blood flowed out. The golden flame heaven-burning dragon wasn't any better. Its flaming dragon scales burst, and blood splattered everywhere. Even one of its dragon horns was broken, and it was in a sorry state. Chapter 267. Bang! The golden flames heaven-incinerating dragon whipped its tail onto the 9 netherworld dragon's spear and knocked Qin Yu away. However, there was also a bloody hole in the dragon's tail. Burning dragon blood splattered in the void. Before the dragon blood could reach the ground, it was sealed by an invisible force and disappeared. It was precisely Qin Yu who had secretly used his methods to condense the dragon blood. Although the dragon blood did not contain the origin blood of the golden flame's heaven-incinerating dragon, its aura was extremely strong. However, the qi and blood contained within them were extremely powerful, far surpassing those of martial progenitor realm ferocious beasts. It was a great supplement for the barbarian god emperor body. You're indeed strong, but this is the end of it. The injured golden flame's heaven-incinerating dragon was enraged. The flames on its body began to change. One could clearly see that a faint golden color was gradually appearing within the flames. Are you going to use your mystical power? The golden flame's heaven-incinerating dragon's mystical power was the golden flame's heaven-incinerating flame. It was a mystical flame of the dragon tribe and was powerful enough to burn the heavens and earth. If the golden flame's heaven-incinerating flame was lucky enough, it could evolve into one of the immemorial mystical flames, the heaven-incinerating divine flame. You're even using your mystical power. It seems like you have no more trump cards left. Great, let's end it here. After fighting for so long, Qin Yu also felt that there was no need to drag it out any longer. Azure Dragon battling the heavens! A dazzling azure light was emitted from Qin Yu's body. The cyan-colored dragon aura surged and turned into a 300-meter-long cyan-colored enormous dragon that swam around Qin Yu's body. Boom! Almost at the same time, a lump of dazzling golden light, like a golden flame transformed from a scorching sun, burns the void and pounces straight at Qin Yu. With a rumble, the golden fireball suddenly exploded when the divine flame was halfway through its attack. The magnificent mystical flames immediately swept toward Qin Yu. In an instant, the space within 10,000 miles was turned into a sea of fire. It was the golden flames heaven-incinerating dragon's mystical power, the heaven-incinerating golden flames. Sky-swallowing dragon seal. Demon eyes of destruction. Heavenly stellar divine light. Space-time ancient slaughtering formation. Dragon scales appeared all over Qin Yu's body. With a shake of his spear, a clear sound rang out as he unleashed his killing moves. A path was cleaved open in the sea of golden flames. Qin Yu became one with his spear and turned into a ray of light, rushing to the front of the golden flame heaven-burning dragon. 8 trigrams Dragon Suppression Seal. Dragon scales shattered, flesh and blood scattered, and a bloody hole appeared on the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon. Countless mysterious ancient runes spread out and quickly sealed the entire body of the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon. Rumble! The golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon let out an unwilling roar, but unfortunately, its entire body was imprisoned by the 8 trigrams ancient runes. It directly fell from the sky into the huge lake, causing huge waves to rise. Dragon Soul. Qin Yu stood high up in the air, looking down at the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon from above, and bellowed in his heart. Roar! Accompanied by a loud dragon roar, the dragon soul immediately appeared from the ancient seal of the dragon god, and revolved around Qin Yu. Vast and mighty dragon might rolled over. Although the dragon soul's cultivation was only at the martial god realm, the dragon might it emitted was stronger than that of the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon. As for the reason, it was naturally because the grade of the dragon soul was innately stronger than that of the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon. The dragon soul was born from the body of the immortal ancient Shinran. The origin dragon world, or the chaotic dragon world, could become the ancestral dragon in the future. Dragon Clan? The golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon, whose flaming dragon scales gradually turned pale gold, saw the dragon soul appear. Intense shock appeared in the huge flame heaven-incinerating dragon's eyes. From the dragon soul, the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon felt a pressure from the depths of its soul. Regardless of whether it was the dragon's bloodline or the dragon's soul, both were superior to it. Since its birth and awakening its intelligence, it was the first time the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon had seen other dragon clan members. Moreover, it was a dragon clan member whose dragon might was stronger than it. For a moment it couldn't help but be stunned. As a dragon clan member, why did you submit to the human clan? But soon, the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon came back to its senses. There was lava rolling in the flame heaven-incinerating dragon's eyes. As a dragon clan member, the dragon soul submitted to Qin Yu, which made the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon angry. Because he will become the dragon god, rule the dragon clan in all the heavens, and establish the eternal dragon nation. The pitch-black dragon soul stared at the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon. Its youthful voice carried supreme dragon might. Become the dragon god? Rule the dragon clan in all the heavens? Establish the eternal dragon nation? The golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon was stunned. Submit to me, and when I prove my Tao in the future, you can also become an immortal, Qin Yu also said. He let the dragon soul appear because he wanted the golden flame heaven-incinerating dragon to submit. Prove your Tao and become an immortal? A mere human dares to have such delusions? The golden flame heaven incinerating dragon looked at Qin Yu, whose body was covered in dragon scales, arrogantly. I don't want to hear nonsense. You either submit to me or die. Qin Yu's eyes became indifferent and dignified. After fighting for 3 days and 3 nights, he had given the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon enough respect. If the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon insisted on not submitting to him, Qin Yu would kill it. The golden flame heaven incinerating dragon was silent. Whether Qin Yu wanted to establish the dragon nation and prove his Tao to become an immortal or not, it was not qualified to laugh at him. Because the loser had nothing to say. If Qin Yu wanted to kill it, it would have been dead by now. Ancient seal of the dragon god. Qin Yu directly helped the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon make the choice. With a flash of golden light, the ancient seal of the dragon god appeared and became 10,000 feet large, like a giant palace, with a vast divine power suppressing down. At this moment, the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon was extremely shocked, more shocked than seeing the dragon soul. In front of the ancient seal of the dragon god, the dragon blood in its body trembled automatically. It was as if this ancient seal of the dragon god was an ancient Shinran. Seal. Qin Yu formed a seal with both hands. In the ancient seal of the dragon god, a mysterious divine light appeared and hit the huge head of the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon. The golden flame heaven incinerating dragon let out a painful roar and struggled violently, but it was useless. In between its eyebrows, the dragon blood was restrained. The dragon blood automatically became sentient and evolved into a pocket-sized golden flame heaven incinerating dragon, trying to escape. Qin Yu waved his right hand, and the dragon blood was suppressed into the ancient seal of the dragon god. The dragon blood was extracted, and the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon directly fainted. Dragon soul, seal the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon into the dragon realm. When it wakes up, if it still doesn't submit, then directly refine it. Qin Yu put away the ancient seal of the dragon god. If the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon was willing to hand over the dragon blood, the damage to his foundation should not have been so great. It was precisely because he didn't want to hurt the foundation of the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon that Qin Yu fought with it for 3 days. If he had known earlier, he would have suppressed it with brute force. Qin Yu would not have wasted so much time. All right. The dragon soul nodded, and the chaotic dragon chi spread out, covering the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon. After keeping the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon into the dragon realm, the dragon soul's figure flashed and returned to the ancient seal of the dragon god. Qin Yu did not linger in the great desolate region. He immediately flew away. Half a day later, Qin Yu left the wilderness. He used the heaven-evading thief technique and escaped into a dangerous restriction. These restrictions were now a natural protective array for Qin Yu. After setting up a formation around his body, Qin Yu also entered the ancient seal of the dragon god. Looking at the sealed dragon blood that was still struggling, Qin Yu sat down cross-legged and formed a seal with both hands. Ancient battle dragon art. With a thought from Qin Yu, that origin dragon blood was immediately split into 2 clumps. Qin Yu and the dragon soul each absorbed a ball into their bodies. Chapter 268. Rumble. The origin dragon blood was only the size of a palm, but the moment it entered his body, it was like a vast sea of power. Even with the suppression of the ancient seal of the divine dragon, Qin Yu's body still shook violently, and cracks appeared on his body. The power of the dragon blood was too majestic, and even the dragon god tyrannical body found it difficult to bear. Refine. Qin Yu circulated the ancient battle dragon art and activated the ancient seal of the divine dragon. The golden flame heavenly dragon's blood, which was unwilling to be refined, still couldn't escape from Qin Yu's body. In an instant, a dense fog-like flame dragon aura appeared around Qin Yu's body. At first glance, it looked like there were raging flames burning. Naturally, one could imagine how vast and majestic the dragon blood of a heavenly dragon clan was. Compared to Qin Yu's big movement, the dragon soul easily suppressed the origin dragon blood. All the dragon scales on the dragon soul's body were suffused with a sacred light. The dragon aura that it emitted was also clearly more powerful. The cultivation of Qin Yu and the dragon's soul rose rapidly, and their aura was like a rainbow, shocking people. When the golden flame heavenly dragon was sealed by Qin Yu's origin dragon blood, far away from the ancient imperial martial world, on a vast piece of land, there was an ancient giant palace that was floating above the clouds. In the depths of the giant palace, a figure who was meditating in seclusion suddenly opened his eyes at this moment. "This is the golden flame heavenly dragon was subdued by someone?" That person flicked his finger, and an image appeared in the ancient mirror in front of him. It was the giant lake where the golden flame heavenly dragon was. The ancestor's prophecy came true. That figure looked at the incomparably messy giant lake and couldn't help but murmur. His voice was filled with uncontrollable shock and excitement. In the ancient seal of the divine dragon, the power of time and space revolved without dissipating. A day in the outside world was a full 5 days inside. When a month had passed in the ancient seal of the divine dragon, Qin Yu and the dragon soul both had a huge breakthrough in their cultivation. Qin Yu had reached the LV8 martial god realm from the 5th level martial god realm. The blood of the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon was the true origin of dragon blood. It wasn't like the 9 hells purgatory dragon's dragon blood that was tainted by corpse aura, nor was it like the heavenly dragon's soul that only had soul power. It allowed Qin Yu's cultivation to break through at an astonishing speed, and there were no aftereffects. The 5 great profound meanings of heaven and earth that Qin Yu had mastered in his previous life appeared clearly at this moment, complementing the increase in his cultivation base. While Qin Yu and the dragon soul were wholeheartedly refining the time dragon blood in the ancient imperial martial world, which was already filled with undercurrents, a storm was brewing. Over the past few days, the 5 top kings' palaces had been in frequent contact with each other. The other kings' palaces had also made their move. The ancient imperial palace was also in action. The elders stationed in the various cities, as well as the experts of the shattered continent, were all summoned back to the ancient imperial palace. At this point, even the dullest person would not be able to react. Everyone knew that the ancient imperial martial world was going to change. The news of the chaos in the ancient imperial martial world had also spread to the surrounding martial world. Many of the top forces in the martial world were also getting restless. Among the 7 great martial worlds, other than the ancient imperial martial world, the division of resources and forces in the other 6 great martial worlds had basically stabilized. Even if there was a war, it would only be a change of forces in a certain region, and would not affect the entire martial world. However, the ancient imperial martial world was different. Once the ancient imperial palace was destroyed, the ancient imperial martial world would definitely be torn apart. Naturally, they would not let go of such a great opportunity to plunder resources. In a magnificent palace in the ancient imperial palace, the ancient emperor, who was wearing ancient armor and had an extraordinary aura, sat on the main seat. A surge of murderous aura that seemed to have materialized raged in the void. Below the main seat, in the main hall, there were rows of martial ancestors gathered. Those martial ancestors were lined up neatly, and it was easy to count them. There were more than 2,000 elders below the LV3 martial ancestor realm. There were more than 1,000 martial ancestors from the LV4 to the LV6 martial ancestor realm. There were almost 800 7th-layer martial ancestors, 500 8th-layer martial ancestors, and 200 9th-layer martial ancestors. Among the 200 9th-layer martial ancestors, more than 100 of them had already undergone the 9 nirvana cycles. Their strength greatly surpassed ordinary ninth-layer martial ancestors. In total, there were almost 5,000 martial ancestors in the ancient imperial palace. Such a terrifying force was enough to crush any of the top forces in the seven great martial world. It was also the reason why the ancient imperial palace had such a strong foundation. That was why the ancient imperial palace was able to suppress the factions of the ancient imperial martial world, forcing them to submit to it. According to our spies, the Black Ice Martial Palace, the Scarlet Sun Martial Palace, the Celestial Martial Palace, the Giant Spiritual Martial Palace, and the Tsangyan Martial Palace have officially formed an alliance. They have gathered more than 20 factions of the royal palaces under their command. Right now, they're already attacking our ancient imperial hall. Their ambition to replace us has already been revealed. The ancient emperor's imperious voice could be heard as his cold gaze scanned the martial ancestors in the palace. The palace where almost 5,000 people were gathered fell into a dead silence. All the elders were silent. They were well aware of the movements of the factions of the ancient imperial martial world. They also knew that an unprecedented battle was about to take place. It was unavoidable. It has been a few thousand years since the ancient imperial palace was established. During this period of time, due to the outstanding contributions of some people, the ancestors granted them the right to establish their own royal palaces. However, who would have thought that not only would they be ungrateful, they would even offend their superiors and want to replace us. This is something that cannot be tolerated. The ancient emperor rose to his feet as his imperious voice could be heard. The auras of the martial ancestors in the palace were boosted. From today onward, all the traitors will disappear from this world. Your names will be remembered by the future generations. Saying this, the ancient emperor strode out of the palace and flew into the sky. The martial progenitor realm elders in the hall remained silent as they followed Qin Nan. Countless gazes were fixed on the ancient emperor and the others in the ancient imperial palace. They were either the disciples of the ancient imperial palace or the descendants of the elders. If the ancient imperial palace lost this battle, many of them would not be able to escape death. The Sumer Gate appeared and the ancient emperor and the others appeared in the sky above the ancient imperial city. At this time, the ancient imperial city, which used to be bustling with noise and excitement, was now completely deserted. It had become an empty city. The ancient emperor stood in the sky and looked into the distance. In the distant horizon, they could already sense that there were countless powerful auras that were currently surrounding them. It seemed like they were going to surround the ancient imperial city. A cold light flickered in the ancient emperor's eyes. He moved his right hand and shot out a ray of light to seal the Sumer Gate. Those outside could not enter, and those inside could not leave. No matter how intense the battle was, no one in the ancient imperial palace would be hurt before it ended. Not long after, a group of people appeared in the distant horizon, and their auras surged toward them. The 5 top royal palaces had joined forces with 20 royal palaces. The number of martial ancestor experts gathered was not much weaker than the ancient imperial palace. The ancient imperial martial world had always been ruled by the ancient imperial palace. Therefore, there were rarely any large-scale battles between martial ancestors. Therefore, the number of martial ancestors in the ancient imperial martial world was much higher than the other 6 martial worlds. Chapter 269. Ancient Emperor, we meet again. A cold voice came from one of the top 5 martial imperial mansions. Li Huanglong from the Black Ice Martial Imperial Mansion stepped out and stared at the ancient emperor with a murderous look in his eyes. Last time, you were lucky enough to escape. But today you won't be so lucky. The ancient emperor's voice was emotionless. He looked at Li Huanglong as if he was looking at a dead man. Lucky enough to escape? Old man, do you still think you're at your peak? Zhao Mingtian's aura was gloomy, and his eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Zhou Pingyang, are you going to work with them? The ancient emperor ignored the two of them and looked at Martial King Qiyang, Zhou Pingyang. Zhou Pingyang's son, Zhou Yunlang, who had the innate sword body, was still in the ancient emperor's secret dimension. The Scarlet Sun Martial Prince's mansion would also rebel. This was something that the ancient emperor did not expect. If he had known, he would not have let Zhou Yunlang enter the ancient emperor's secret dimension. Luckily, Qin Yu, who was more talented, had also entered the ancient emperor's secret dimension. The ancient emperor was relieved. If it were only Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian, he would be worried. Ancient emperor, this is the trend. I can only go with the flow. Zhou Pingyang smiled. Before the top 5 martial imperial mansions made their move, he had already thought about it. He had sent Zhou Yunlang into the ancient emperor's secret dimension to plan for the future. As long as Zhou Yunlang received the inheritance of the 3 ancient emperors in the ancient emperor's secret dimension. Once the ancient emperor fell, the chances of them taking the throne would be much higher than the other 4 martial imperial mansions. The ancient emperor had been able to sit on the throne for so long. It was not just because his cultivation was much higher than the top martial imperial mansions. The inheritance of the 3 ancient emperors was the most important thing. Zhou Pingyang's plan was good. But man proposes, God disposes. Zhou Yunlang, who he had high hopes for, had died under Qin Yu's sword. The ancient emperor's secret dimension was a world within a world. So Zhou Pingyang did not know about this until now. What an irresistible trend! A cold light flashed in the ancient emperor's eyes. Since ancient times, the throne has always belonged to those who are capable. However, despite knowing that he is nearing the end of his lifespan, he still refuses to appoint a successor to the emperor of the ancients. Instead, he is carrying out his plan to appoint the son of the ancients. His goal is obvious. He wants his descendants to inherit the position of the ancient emperor. As for all of you, you're just pawns for him to use. Do you still want to continue being manipulated by him? After the ancient emperor finished speaking, Zhao Mingtian raised his voice and said to the martial progenitors of the ancient imperial hall. His intention was clear. He wanted to split the ancient imperial palace's martial progenitors. Unfortunately, the martial progenitors of the ancient imperial hall did not react to Zhao Mingtian's words. The spies planted in the outside world and the traitors who were roped in had long been eliminated by the emperor of the ancients. As for the 9th-layer martial progenitor realm elders, they knew that the ancient emperor did not have much time left. However, all of them had the strength to ascend to the throne of the ancient emperors. Of course, he did not wish for the ancient imperial hall to be overthrown by the 5 peak martial king mansions. This was because they would lose the opportunity to ascend to the position of ancient emperor. As for the other martial ancestors, they were either loyal to the ancient emperor or the peak martial progenitors. Therefore, they would not allow themselves to be instigated at this moment. Humph, since you're so eager to die, I'll send you on your way. Zhao Mingtian wore a dark expression seeing this. Attack! The 5 of them exchanged glances with one another and immediately gave the order. Thousands of martial progenitors were dispatched. Some of them attacked from the front while others set up killing formations at the back. Thousands of people attacked, but it was orderly and not chaotic at all. It was obvious that they had come up with a detailed plan in the past few days. Kill! The martial progenitors of the ancient imperial hall roared furiously as they charged forward. They had prepared various trump cards in advance. They were going to suppress the enemies with brute force. Rumble! Thousands of rules of the heavens and earth collided fiercely in the rift, causing the sky to tremble. The rift within 10,000 li of the ancient imperial city turned into a zone of destruction. Even a martial progenitor would die if he were to set foot in it. In the midst of the chaotic battle, the ancient emperor stood silently in the rift without moving. There were a total of 10 figures on the side of the 5 great mansions. They stood side by side and stared at the ancient emperor. Apart from Li Huanglong and the other lords of the 5 great mansions, the other 5 were the most powerful martial kings of the other mansions. Although they were weaker than Li Huanglong and the other 4, they were still martial progenitors of the 9th Revolution realm. Furthermore, those who could establish the martial royal mansions were naturally the most powerful martial progenitors of the same rank. Although the ancient emperor was old and was about to pass away, he was still a martial progenitor. However, the ancient emperor was a half-emperor after all. Li Huanglong and the others naturally had to join forces to fight against him. Traitors, today is the day you die. The ancient emperor's deep eyes flickered with cold, killing intent. His body glowed brightly as he charged forward. The inheritance of the divine emperor. Zhou Pingyuan's expression turned serious when he saw the ancient emperor's light. It was said that the ancient emperor's cultivation method was the inheritance of the divine emperor's divine light. Up until now, none of them had figured out what kind of divine ability the divine light had. However, one thing was for sure. Regardless of whether it was a divine light or a secret technique, its power would be greatly reduced when it was swept by the divine light. Follow the plan. Zhou Pingyang, the martial king of the Red Sun, unsheathed the ancient sword on his back and a terrifying sword intent surged out. Wind and clouds rose, and the aftershocks of the law of destruction were all torn apart by the sword intent. Zhou Pingyang also possessed a rare sword body. However, his aura was not as outstanding as Zhou Yunlong's. Crack crack. Li Huanglong, the martial king of the Black Ice Martial King, released a dazzling cold light that froze the space and turned it into a world of ice and snow. Behind Li Huanglong, a ball of dark blue ice that looked like a 9-leaf lotus appeared. This was the origin ice of the Black Ice Martial Royal Mansion, the Black Ice Heavenly Ice. Its power was enough to kill a high-level martial progenitor. The Black Ice Martial Royal Mansion was able to become one of the top martial royal mansions because of the Black Ice Heavenly Ice. Kiki. Zhao Mingtian, the martial king of the Heavenly End Realm, formed a hand seal and his face was covered with pitch-black ancient curses. Accompanied by an ear-piercing shriek, a pitch-black ancient beast appeared out of thin air. An ominous aura from the underworld was released and its power was comparable to a peak Nirvana realm martial progenitor. This was the contract creature that Zhao Mingtian had obtained by chance, the ancient underworld beast. It was a creature from the underworld that was immortal and extremely difficult to deal with. Roar. A heaven-shaking roar appeared. Qian Huiyun, the martial king of the giant spirit, had a sturdy body. At this moment, his body expanded rapidly and became dozens of feet tall. On his body, one could clearly see the silhouette of an ancient giant that was dozens of feet tall. It was the ancient giant spirit. Whoosh whoosh. Song Luoshu, the martial king of the blue flame, opened his hands and a ball of pale white flames burned in each of his palms. The flames burned all over his body, turning him into a man of flames in an instant. The chaotic fluctuations of the laws of heaven and earth that appeared from all directions were immediately incinerated. Heavenly flame of heaven and earth, the blue spirit demonic flame. Chapter 270. Facing the ancient emperor, Zhou Pingyang and the other 4 did not hold back and went all out. The laws of heaven and earth of the other 5 lords of the royal palaces also surged. Divine light! The ancient emperor stepped forward. The light on his body was as strong as a raging river, sweeping across the land. Wherever the divine light passed, the laws of heaven and earth of the martial ancestors of the royal palaces were immediately suppressed. The greater the difference between their cultivation and the ancient emperors, the greater the suppression. The bodies of the martial ancestors of the ancient imperial palace flickered with light, preventing them from being suppressed by the ancient emperor's divine light. With the help of the ancient emperor's divine light, the martial ancestors of the ancient imperial palace immediately gained the upper hand. Many martial ancestors of the royal palaces died. In such a chaotic battle, once one died, even his soul would not be able to escape. He would die completely. Sword kill! Zhou Pingyang bellowed when he saw the ancient emperor approaching with a vast amount of pressure. Sword intent gathered around him and turned into a 1,000-foot-long sword with a strong murderous aura. As the giant sword slashed, the space collapsed. One could clearly see countless tiny pitch-black cracks appearing in the void. The bodies of the unlucky martial ancestors that were hit by the giant sword were easily sliced apart like tofu. Seal! The ancient emperor stepped forward unstoppably. He thrust out his right hand and a majestic light swept across the sky like a river. Before the ferocious and shocking giant sword could strike down, it was sealed in midair by the multicolored light and turned into sword chi that was annihilated. Zhou Pingyang's face froze. He did not expect one of his trump cards to be sealed in an instant. He had underestimated the power of the ancient emperor's divine light. Crack crack! At this moment, a bone-chilling coldness filled the air, causing the void to freeze inch by inch. Li Huanglong had seized the opportunity to suppress the ancient emperor while he was dealing with Zhou Pingyang. Kiki! A creepy laugh rang out as Zhao Mingtian's pitch-black body glowed with ancient runes. The ancient underworld beast carried a strong ominous aura as it wandered in the air, making it difficult to pinpoint its location. Bang! Qian Huiyun was the most direct. He rushed forward, and the phantom of the ancient giant spirit became more and more condensed. With a punch, the void shook violently. Like a raging sea, it set off a destructive tsunami. Chi. Song Luo Shu didn't attack. He just put his palms together. The two balls of azure spirit devil flame in his palms merged with each other. The color changed from pale white to dark black in an instant. The power of the flames increased by a level. Amidst the pitch-black flames, a mysterious demonic silhouette could be vaguely seen. The aura emitted by that demonic shadow seemed to be far above the Tsongling devil flame, making people feel intimidated at first glance. Whoosh! Whoosh! The other 5 lords of the prince's mansion were also flying at full speed. Their auras were terrifying. It was obvious that they had prepared a powerful sofa technique. Divine Light Incarnation. Seeing Li Huanglong's group of 8 coming from all directions with a terrifying killing intent, Li Huanglong's group of 8 was shocked. Ancient runes appeared on the ancient armor on the ancient emperor's body. In an instant, 4 rays of light condensed around the ancient emperor. Not only were the 4 clones identical to the ancient emperor, but their auras were also on par with the ancient emperor. Rumble! The 4 clones were surrounded by majestic rays of light, suppressing Li Huanglong, Zhao Mingtian, Qian Huiyun, and the 5 lords of the prince's mansion. Mystiques and laws exploded violently at this moment, causing dark spatial cracks to appear in the void. The collision was so powerful that even the heavens and earth couldn't withstand it. Battle power identical to the real body? What kind of mystique is this? Li Huanglong and the other 2 lords' eyes widened in shock. They had actually been suppressed by a mere clone? The battle power of the clones made them feel as if they were facing the ancient emperor himself. As for the 5 lords of the prince's mansion, they were suppressed to the point that they couldn't fight back. They could only barely resist. Ancient Emperor's Seal. After the 4 clones dealt with Li Huanglong's group of 8, an ancient seal appeared in the ancient emperor's hand. The ancient seal shone with dazzling rays of light, and with a force that could split the heavens and earth, it violently bombarded Zhou Pingyang's body. Pucci! Zhou Pingyang's body trembled. The sword intent and laws around him collapsed under the attack of the ancient emperor's seal. Zhou Pingyang spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. His aura was in a mess, and his injuries weren't light. At the critical moment, Zhou Pingyang used the ancient sword in his hand to block the attack. He was most likely severely injured by the ancient emperor's seal. So this is the strength of the half-martial emperor realm? Many of the martial progenitors in the chaotic area were astounded when they saw the ancient emperor suppressing the 10 emperors on his own. If it was a one-on-one fight, none of the martial ancestors would be able to survive against the ancient emperor. Damn it. I would like to see how long you can last in your current state. Zhou Pingyang's eyes flickered with viciousness as he roared and charged forward with his sword. Although he didn't know what kind of mystique the ancient emperor's clones were, he knew that the ancient emperor's clones were powerful. But there was no doubt that the ancient emperor couldn't keep using such a powerful mystique since he was about to pass away. Even if he had to drag it out, he had to drag it out until the ancient emperor died. Demonic spirit appear. When Zhou Pingyang was in danger, Kangluo Shu finally made his move. He roared and separated his hands. The azure demonic spirit flames in his hands split apart again. But this time, a black vortex appeared between the two balls of flames. Black mist filled the vortex and exuded a chilling aura of destruction. In the next moment, a demonic spirit covered in demonic flames pounced toward the ancient emperor. Whoosh! The ancient emperor raised his brow and pointed his finger. A ray of light pierced through the sky and pierced through the demonic spirit. However, the flaming demon spirit was pierced through. Although much of its power was sealed, its attacks did not stop. The demonic spirit was formed from a special flame, so it naturally wouldn't be destroyed. Sword destruction. Zhou Pingyang's eyes lit up as he increased his attack. He gathered the destruction sword intent on his ancient sword and slashed out continuously. Terrifying sword rays tore through the air as they tried to kill the ancient emperor. Protect! The ancient emperor didn't panic as he drew a semicircle around him. A stone statue that was shining with divine light descended from the sky. Whether it was Zhou Pingyang's destructive sword light or the azure flame devil spirit, which was burning with billowing devil flames, they were all blocked by the stone statue's shadow. 3 Emperor's stone statue! Zhou Pingyang's eyes lit up as he attacked even more fiercely. However, the stone statue remained motionless like a towering mountain. The ancient emperor wasn't going to just wait. The divine light on his body became ancient as a mysterious aura surged toward Zhou Pingyang. Zhou Pingyang's combat power was the strongest among the 10 lords, so the ancient emperor wanted to kill him first. Boom! 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 The battle became even more intense as the sky turned into a zone of destruction. Tens of thousands of miles of land were flattened and countless lives were lost. Countless indistinct figures in the distant horizon felt their hearts palpitate and their bodies turn cold. Even if those people were the top martial progenitors of the other martial field. But in the face of such a destructive battle, they couldn't suppress the fear in their hearts. Chapter 271. At this moment, the peak martial progenitors from the other martial realms finally understood why no faction in the ancient imperial martial realm dared to rebel against the ancient imperial palace. If the ancient emperor was not on the verge of passing away due to old age, even with the help of the factions from the other martial realms, the 5 top royal palaces would not dare to rebel against the ancient imperial palace. As the battle between the ancient imperial palace and the 5 top royal palaces intensified, resulting in countless casualties among the martial progenitors, ancient emperor's mystic realm. Inside the ancient dragon god's ancient seal, Qin Yu, who had refined the origin dragon blood, was undergoing a transformation. 5 days ago, Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the 8th layer martial god realm, causing his strength to skyrocket. The stronger his cultivation, the faster Qin Yu could absorb the dragon blood. Therefore, after reaching the 8th layer martial god realm, Qin Yu controlled the ancient seal of the ancient dragon to refine the remaining dragon blood. Therefore, in the past 5 days, Qin Yu's flesh and bones were filled with dragon blood. This state continued until the dragon blood was completely consumed. As the dragon blood was refined, Qin Yu's cultivation improved once again. The godly dragon tyrannical body also improved after absorbing the dragon blood. It's still not enough to break through to the martial progenitor realm. After absorbing the last strand of dragon qi, Qin Yu opened his eyes. Half of the origin dragon blood had allowed Qin Yu's cultivation to reach the half-martial progenitor realm. It was only a matter of time before he reached the martial progenitor realm. The 5 ultimates of the heavens and earth were showing signs of evolving into the rules of the heavens and earth. The reason why Qin Yu had not achieved the martial progenitor realm was that he had used most of the dragon blood on the dragon vein and the branch dragon vein in his body. The dark yellow main dragon vein had now reached the 4th grade dragon vein. The dragon vein was emitting a green glow, which was comparable to the god body. The dragon vein was classified into red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, gold, and dragon. In Qin Yu's past life, he had focused on improving his cultivation. Therefore, when he reached the peak martial monarch realm, his main dragon vein was only a blue dragon vein. It was also because of this that Qin Yu, after reaching the peak of the emperor realm, was able to become a peak emperor. Only then did he realize that his foundation was not solid enough to break through the barrier of peak emperor realm. Therefore, in this life, Qin Yu had been working hard to build the foundation of his physical body. In order to break through the limits of the peak emperor realm, aptitude was absolutely a crucial factor. Even with the ancient battle dragon art, which allowed him to continuously improve his cultivation by devouring the primary dragon blood, he could not neglect the strengthening of his foundation. Otherwise, the primordial combat dragon incantation would not have a secret technique to condense a grade 9 main dragon vein. Other than the main dragon vein, which had been upgraded to grade 4, the number of sub-dragon veins had also increased by leaps and bounds. They had already reached 40 veins, increasing by more than 10 veins. This also meant that not only did Qin Yu have a true divine body aptitude, but it was also a divine body aptitude that could increase his cultivation speed by 40 times. Crack! At this moment, the sound of bones colliding could be heard. In an instant, a white figure appeared in front of Qin Yu. It was the skeleton ghost king. Qin Yu had sensed it more than 10 days ago. The skeleton ghost king had completely merged with the barbarian god emperor body and came out of the cauldron. As the skeleton ghost king did not move, Qin Yu did not pay attention to it. "You should be able to speak now, right?" Qin Yu sized up the skeleton ghost king. The situation was as he had expected. With the help of the barbarian god emperor body, the skeleton ghost king's cultivation had directly reached the martial emperor realm. Yes, the current skeleton ghost king was very different from before. Although it had spiritual intelligence in the past, it seemed to be a little slow. Now it had completely changed. Although it was still a skeleton, it gave people a feeling that it was full of life. "I thought you would find a way to leave," Qin Yu said in a calm voice. After all, the current skeleton ghost king could be said to be a skeleton martial emperor. With the cultivation of a martial emperor, it should not be difficult to dissolve the soul contract. "It seems that following you will be more promising in the future," the skeleton ghost king said. Although Qin Yu had not reached the martial ancestor realm, he had the means to do so. Even with his current strength, he was not confident that he could defeat Qin Yu. Moreover, if he cultivated by himself, he would not be able to obtain a martial emperor body now. Then, it will help us get along well. Because of the soul contract, Qin Yu could sense that the skeleton ghost king was not disloyal. Moreover, with Qin Yu's current strength, he was not afraid that the skeleton ghost king would betray him. Although the skeleton ghost king had the cultivation of a martial emperor, Qin Yu had left a lot of backups on the barbarian god emperor body. Whoosh! With a thought, Qin Yu and the skeleton ghost king left the ancient dragon seal space together. In the depths of the forbidden ancient cave, Qin Yu sat with his legs crossed and formed a hand seal. Not long after, a pale golden ancient flame seal formed between Qin Yu's eyebrows. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the origin dragon seal formed, wisps of pale golden flames rose from Qin Yu's body. In an instant, Qin Yu's entire body was covered by flames. With him as the center, everything within 100 zhang of him was burned to ashes. It was the golden flames, heaven incinerating dragons, golden flames, heaven incinerating dragon. The skeleton ghost king's eyes flickered with astonishment upon seeing this. It was even more curious about Qin Yu. After forming the origin dragon seal, Qin Yu continued to sit with his legs crossed and comprehended the 5 ultimates of the heavens and earth, while waiting for the dragon soul to refine the dragon blood. Rumble. At this moment, the earth-shattering battle was still ongoing in the void outside the ancient imperial hall. The martial progenitors on both sides had suffered great casualties. In total, over 1,000 martial progenitors had fallen in the battle. The battle between the ancient emperor and the 10 martial emperors intensified. The ancient emperor's 4 godly light incarnations dimmed and lost much of their power. Li Huanglong and the others, who had been suppressed, became energetic and attacked fiercely. Soon, the 4 clones of the ancient emperor disappeared. Li Huanglong and the others attacked the ancient emperor together. Zhou Pingyang and Song Luoshu let out sighs of relief. The 2 of them were in a miserable state facing the ancient emperor. Their flesh was torn apart and their auras were in a mess. If Li Huanglong and the others could not come to their aid, they would have no choice but to flee for their lives. Set up the formation. Li Huanglong and the others appeared. Each of them held an ancient formation flag in their hand. The formation flags were unsealed and expanded in the wind, turning into an ancient formation that was thousands of feet in size. Within the formation, there were 9 huge stars that were flickering with starlight. 9 stars monarch slaying formation. The ancient emperor raised his head and recognized the ancient formation. This was an ancient killing formation that drew upon the power of the stars in the 9 heavens. It had the power to kill emperors. Ancient emperor, this is the end. Zhou Pingyang wore a hideous grin. Since the ancient emperor was trapped by the 9 stars monarch slaying formation, he would surely die. It was a killing move that they had prepared to deal with the ancient emperor. Yeah, it's time to end this. The ancient emperor spoke softly with a calm gaze. Not only was his lifespan reaching its end, but his injuries had also healed. The hidden injuries in his body flared up once again. He had been forcefully suppressing them in the previous battle. Originally, he wanted to use all his strength to kill Zhou Pingyang first, and then defeat them one by one. Unfortunately, they had won in the end. Be careful. That old man might have some other trump cards. Zhou Pingyang's eyes narrowed. The ancient emperor's calmness made him feel uneasy. Li Huanglong, Zhao Mingtian, and the others also activated the 9 stars monarch slaying formation with all their might. Chapter 272. Zhou Pingyang, Li Huanglong, and the other 8 activated the array flags in their hands. Inside the 9 stars monarch slaying formation, 9 lifelike stars appeared and hung in the sky, emitting a destructive ripple. The ancient emperor stood in the middle of the ancient array. He looked at the 9 destructive stars calmly and did not move. However, the light on his body, which had dimmed quite a bit, became even more condensed and dazzling. Cough, cough. Suddenly, the ancient emperor's face turned pale and he coughed violently. Black blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The ancient emperor could clearly sense the aura of death coming from him, and he could no longer suppress it. He's indeed holding on. Zhou Pingyang and the other 8's eyes lit up when they saw the ancient emperor bleeding from the corner of his mouth. A half-martial emperor could actually spit out blood. How serious was the condition of his body? Oh no! The martial progenitor of the ancient imperial hall was shocked. Is the ancient emperor going to die here? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 9 stars fell from the sky and landed on the ancient emperor's body. However, at this moment, the divine light that was condensed on the ancient emperor's body suddenly exploded. Countless rays of divine light pierced through the sky like thousands of divine weapons. The 9 stars of destruction were also directly shattered by the divine light at this moment and disappeared from the world. With a loud bang, the 9 Stars Emperor slaying array was destroyed. The array flags in Zhou Pingyang and the other 8's hands turned into specks of light and disappeared. How is this possible? Zhou Pingyang and the others, who had thought that the ancient emperor was at the end of his rope, suddenly changed their expressions and were incomparably shocked. The 9 Stars Emperor slaying array had been refined for 3 years and had absorbed a vast amount of star energy. Then, the 10 of them, who had reached the 9 Nirvana cycle, worked together to activate it. Even if they could not kill a martial emperor, it should not be possible. How could a half-martial emperor destroy it so easily? What is that? Suddenly, Zhou Pingyang's eyes widened. At some point, a divine figure had appeared behind the ancient emperor. The divine light figure's appearance couldn't be seen clearly. He stood with his hands behind his back, exuding a domineering aura that swept through the world. The initially chaotic martial progenitor realm battlefield fell silent at that instant. Everyone couldn't help but look at the divine light figure. The reason was none other than the aura emitted by that divine figure was simply too frightening. Even though everyone present was a martial progenitor, they could not help but feel an urge to kneel and worship him. Divine power of the 3 sovereigns? Wei Yuanzhou muttered in shock when he saw the divine figure behind the ancient emperor. He was the Grand Elder of the ancient Imperial Hall. Apart from the ancient emperor, he was the most senior figure in the ancient Imperial Hall. As for the rumors of the 3 ancient emperors' inheritance, he naturally knew more about it than others. Legend had it that the 3 ancient emperors were protecting the ancient Imperial Palace. In the ancient Imperial Palace, he had left behind his true body's god power. If the ancient Imperial Hall were to face a calamity, he could use his true body's divine power to destroy all enemies. Wei Yuanzhou originally thought that it was just a legend, but he did not expect that it was actually true. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Zhou Pingyang, who was sweating profusely, immediately escaped with his sword. Li Huanglong and the others reacted quickly as well. They did not dare to stay any longer and ran away in a panic. The divine figure behind the ancient emperor made them feel like they were about to die. If they continued to stay, they would definitely die. Seeing Zhou Pingyang and the others running away in different directions, the ancient emperor's gaze remained calm. He raised his hand slightly and clapped his hands in the direction of Zhou Pingyang and the others. The divine figure followed the ancient emperor's actions and clapped his hands in the air as well. 10 divine light palms appeared and attacked in 10 different directions. Oh no! Zhou Pingyang and the others, who had already run a few hundred miles away, felt their hair stand on end. They felt a chill run down their spines. Behind the 10 of them, a divine light palms appeared as if they had teleported. They were like shadows and maggots attached to bones. There was no way to get rid of them. Break! Zhou Pingyang roared as he waved his ancient sword in an attempt to block the divine light palms. Crack! Unfortunately, that ordinary-looking palm print of divine light directly shattered the sword light. Even the ancient demigod sword in Zhou Pingyang's hand would explode immediately. It was the same for Li Huanglong and the others. The saint artifacts that were used to resist the palm print were completely like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Bam bam bam, several sounds of flesh exploding could be heard. Of the 10 people who were hit by the divine light palms, 6 of them turned into blood and scattered in the air. They died on the spot. Zhou Pingyang, Li Huanglong, Zhao Mingtian, and Song Luo Shu only managed to survive by relying on the power of their swords, the power of mystic ice, the ancient underworld beast, and the azure flame demonic spirit. However, they were also heavily injured and covered in blood. More importantly, the divine light palm print was still carrying an indestructible divine might. It tore through the air and attacked, as if it would not dissipate until it killed them. Just as Zhou Pingyang and the others were about to die under the divine light palms, the pale-faced ancient emperor trembled violently as he spat out a mouthful of black blood. The ancient emperor's aura had clearly weakened. The divine light on the divine figure's body also quickly dimmed. Even the 10 divine light palms had lost a lot of their power. It was as if Zhou Pingyang and the other 3 were grasping at straws. All of them unleashed their forbidden techniques and fled at top speed. They were so fast that they disappeared into the sky in less than a breath's time. Oh no! Run! Seeing that 6 of the 10 martial kings were dead and 4 were injured, the martial progenitors of the martial king mansion turned pale with fright and fled in all directions. Ancient Emperor? The martial progenitors of the ancient imperial palace immediately chased after them. However, the Supreme Elder Wei Yuanzhou and the other top elders did not chase after them. Instead, they all looked at the ancient emperor. At this moment, the ancient emperor's body emitted a dazzling divine light. The divine light was not the divine light of the divine emperor's inheritance. Instead, the ancient emperor's flesh was burning wildly. The ancient emperor's body began to turn illusory as he was being burned. Is it the time? The ancient emperor opened his palm and looked at the burning flesh and bones. He took a step forward and dispelled the barrier around the ancient imperial palace. Let's go. Wei Yuanzhou and the others looked at each other and followed him into the ancient imperial palace. The ancient imperial palace looked like it was on the verge of passing away. The ancient emperor's son's plan had only just begun. If the ancient emperor passed away now, he would definitely choose a successor. At this moment, it was better to stay in the ancient imperial palace than to chase after the martial kings. Open. In the core region of the ancient imperial palace, after using a secret technique to seal the burning flesh of the ancient emperor, Lin Fan opened the ancient emperor's secret realm and stepped in. In the ancient emperor's secret realm, Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged in the air and waiting for the dragon's soul to awaken, suddenly had a slight change in expression. Almost at the same time, a figure stepped out of the rift and appeared in the area where the forbidding aura had been burned to ashes. Chapter 273. Ancient Emperor? When Qin Yu opened his eyes and saw the ancient emperor, his eyes narrowed. Flesh incineration? This is... Qin Yu understood that the ancient emperor had reached the end of his lifespan and was about to pass away. The divine power of the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon? As expected, his target is the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon. The ancient emperor's eyes flickered as he looked at the charred land around him. It seems like the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon has been subdued by you. The ancient emperor flew down and said, "You don't seem to mind?" Qin Yu nodded and didn't deny it. The Golden Flame's heavenly dragon is too powerful and can't be used by me. If it breaks through again, the ancient emperor's secret realm will be its territory. The ancient emperor was helpless. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted by a real dragon. Although he could use the divine emperor's secret technique to suppress the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon, he couldn't make it submit. The Golden Flame's heavenly dragon wasn't raised in this secret realm by the ancient emperor palace? Qin Yu was puzzled. The Golden Flame's heavenly dragon was already here in my great-grandfather's era. As for who brought the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon in, no one knows. However, although the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon is powerful, it's not on the same level as the inheritance of the 3 ancient emperors. But you're not interested in the inheritance of the 3 ancient emperors. Instead, you're here for the Golden Flame's heavenly dragon. This is beyond my expectations. As he spoke, the ancient emperor's gaze was fixed on Qin Yu the entire time. Qin Yu's actions caused the ancient emperor to be even more certain of his guess. Qin Yu didn't show it on his face, but his heart skipped a beat. He felt that the ancient emperor seemed to know something. Let's talk. Looking at Qin Yu's calm eyes, the ancient emperor didn't speak of his guess. After all, his guess was too shocking. If it was true, it would be Qin Yu's biggest secret. The position of the ancient emperor? Upon seeing the ancient emperor's expression, Qin Yu knew what the ancient emperor wanted to say. That's right, I'm about to die. Hence, the ancient emperor hall needs a new ancient emperor. You are the best candidate. The ancient emperor said. I'm only a martial god. Why are you so confident in me? Aren't you afraid that the elders of the ancient imperial palace and the powers of the ancient imperial martial world won't accept this? This was what Qin Yu was most curious about. The ancient emperor seemed to have too much confidence in him. You're able to kill over 100 martial progenitors on your own when you're only a martial god. Considering your age, there's no one else in the history of the 7 great martial realms that could do that. The ancient emperor smiled. When did you find out? Qin Yu raised his eyebrows. It seemed like the ancient emperor had found out about the battle at the 100-Beast Palace. However, on second thought, it wasn't surprising that the emperor of the ancients was able to find out that his eldest senior brother had appeared in that battle. When you went to the barbarian god relic, I found out about the battle between you and the Myriad Ghost Palace. Although I don't know what grudges you have with the Myriad Ghost Palace, I'm sure you're interested in the Myriad Ghost Palace's movements? The ancient emperor said. The Myriad Ghost Palace's movements? Qin Yu squinted his eyes. A cold light flashed across his eyes. After obtaining the golden flame sky-incinerating dragon, his original plan was to destroy the Myriad Ghost Palace. He was still far from being able to deal with the heaven-suppressing Ghost Emperor and the other 12 ancient emperors. Hence, forces like the Myriad Ghost Palace would take it as an interest first. According to our spies, a martial emperor expert went to the Myriad Ghost Palace some time ago. They're looking for you now. The ancient emperor said slowly. A martial emperor? Qin Yu's heart moved. Was it because of his eldest senior brother that the Myriad Ghost Palace had sent an expert? Or had the news of him having the ancient immortal token spread? It seems like more than one martial emperor went to the Myriad Ghost Palace. Seeing that Qin Yu was deep in thought, the ancient emperor added. Since you know about my relationship with the ancient emperor palace, you still dare to make me the ancient emperor? Aren't you afraid that the Myriad Ghost Palace will vent their anger on the ancient emperor palace and bring trouble to you? Qin Yu calmed himself down and asked even more strangely. The Myriad Ghost Palace is indeed powerful. However, the ancient emperor palace has ruled the ancient emperor martial world for so many years. The forces from the other martial worlds, including those from the monarch domain and heavenly domain, do not dare to invade us. The ancient emperor didn't seem to be afraid of the Myriad Ghost Palace. From what I know, the ancient emperor palace doesn't have any backing in the 3 monarch domains. Qin Yu was surprised by the ancient emperor's tone. Before coming to the ancient emperor palace, Qin Yu had already investigated the ancient emperor palace's background. This is the ancient emperor palace's secret. Only the ancient emperors of each generation know about it. The ancient emperor meant that if Qin Yu didn't become the ancient emperor, he wouldn't tell Qin Yu about his background. Qin Yu fell into deep thought. With his current strength, it was still difficult for him to deal with a martial emperor. Although the skeleton ghost king was a martial emperor, he was only a rank 1 martial emperor. He could resist a martial emperor for a while, but it was too difficult to kill him. Should he continue to stay in the ancient emperor palace? Or should he leave the 7 martial worlds? The spies of the Myriad Ghost Palace have already infiltrated the ancient emperor martial world. I think that you need an identity to hide your identity from the Myriad Ghost Palace. Seeing that Qin Yu was deep in thought, the ancient emperor continued, or do you want to continue hiding? Concealing my identity is indeed a good suggestion. However, I have to make one thing clear. I won't be staying in the ancient imperial hall forever, Lin Fan said. Qin Yu made his decision when he heard the ancient emperor's words. If he was in the 7 martial worlds, he would have to hide. If he went to the 3 monarch domains and the 9 prefectures, it would be harder for him to move around. With your talent, Both the ancient imperial hall and the 7 major martial fields are too small. The 3 monarch domains and the 9 prefectures are your stage. That's why I chose you." A smile appeared on the ancient emperor's face. He had finally persuaded Qin Yu. "What do you mean?" asked Qin Yu. "The position of the ancient emperor is passed down by my ancestors. It can't end in my generation. Therefore, I hope that you can take care of my descendants while you're the ancient emperor. After you leave, you can help them become the ancient emperor." This was the ancient emperor's true intention. He knew that with Qin Yu's talent, he was destined to roam the 9 heavens in the future. He wouldn't covet the position of the ancient emperor palace. Qin Yu smiled. He had always been a man of his words. Now that the ancient emperor had made such a request, it was exactly what he wanted. "Follow me." After Qin Yu agreed to take over the position of the ancient emperor flew into the sky and headed to the 3 emperors' area. Not long after, the ancient emperor brought Qin Yu to the most central ancient palace of the 3 emperors' mystic realm. The inheritance of the 3 emperors is in this ancient palace. The ancient emperor gestured for Qin Yu to enter the ancient palace. That stone door of the ancient palace that was originally covered with layers of restrictions was easily pushed open by Qin Yu. This was because Qin Yu had received the recognition of the Stone Emperor's statue during the aptitude test. The ancient palace was empty. There were only 3 statues that were 100 feet tall. These 3 statues were the 3 emperors of the ancient era: the Stone Emperor, the War Emperor, and the Deity Emperor. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As Qin Yu arrived, the statues of the 3 emperors trembled slightly. Countless ancient runes lit up and 3 majestic auras were released. Judging from their appearance, the 3 statues seemed to be coming to life. Chapter 274. The 3 emperors are reacting? Seeing this scene, the ancient emperor's eyes were filled with shock. This was the first time something like this had happened since the establishment of the ancient imperial hall. Rumors had it that the ancient imperial hall was left behind by the 3 emperors of the ancient era. The ancient emperor's bloodline was just lucky to be recognized by the 3 emperors' stone statues. That was why they were able to sit on the throne. But in reality, the ancient emperor's bloodline was the descendants of the 3 emperors. Because of the calamity in the past, they were sent to the ancient emperor martial world to establish the ancient imperial hall. Their goal was to protect the 3 stone statues and to leave behind the 3 emperors' inheritance. Ever since the 3 stone statues were sent to the ancient emperor's secret realm, almost every generation of the 3 emperors' descendants would receive the inheritance of the 3 emperors. But there had never been a situation where all 3 stone statues of the 3 emperors had a reaction. How terrifying was Qin Yu's aptitude? That's strange. Why did only the Stone Emperor's stone statue have a reaction during the aptitude test? The Stone Emperor, who had regained his senses, had a strange thought in his mind. What the ancient emperor didn't know was that Qin Yu's aptitude had increased by more than 10 times during this period. Now that the stone statues of the 3 emperors had detected Qin Yu's aptitude, they would naturally have a reaction. But as soon as this thought appeared in his mind, the ancient emperor turned around and disappeared. He could no longer suppress the burning blood in his body. He had to make arrangements for Qin Yu's succession. As expected, this power is no longer the Tao of spirit refinement. Qin Yu walked in and carefully sensed the energy waves emitted by the 3 stone statues. The closer he got to the stone statues, the clearer the energy waves emitted by the 3 stone statues became. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. When Qin Yu was within 10 feet of the 3 stone statues, the ancient runes on the stone statues began to form. The ancient runes on the 3 stone statues condensed into 3 rays of light and gathered on Qin Yu's body. In an instant, Qin Yu was filled with 3 soul marks. The 3 soul marks contained the power of heaven and earth that surpassed the great Tao of heaven and earth. Martial emperors comprehended the great Tao of heaven and earth, and could even become the embodiment of heaven and earth. At the emperor realm, one would ascend from the great Tao of heaven and earth and comprehend the source Tao arts of the great Tao. However, the Tao of heaven and earth that these three stone statues contained a trace of peculiar energy fluctuation. That wisp of energy fluctuation was what Qin Yu had sensed earlier. It was similar to the energy fluctuation of Fairy Xuelon and the ancient immortal token. That kind of energy was completely new and different from Zhen Yuan. It was even more powerful. Although the energy contained within the three great soul brands was extremely boundless, Qin Yu did not have the slightest difficulty in fusing them together. Very quickly, Qin Yu obtained the inheritances of the three ancient emperors. This was the legacy of the Stone Emperor, the indestructible Stone Emperor seal. The indestructible Stone Emperor seal used the power of heaven and earth to form an indestructible stone seal to protect the user. Once cultivated to the pinnacle, it would be indestructible. It was an extremely powerful defensive technique from ancient times. The inheritance of the War Emperor, the Heaven's War Emperor transformation. Heaven's War Emperor transformation. Once this ability was mastered, one's essence, energy, and spirit could be transformed into any divine weapon in the world. The stronger the essence, qi, and spirit, the more powerful the divine weapon would be. The inheritance of the martial emperors was the sealing godly glow. The sealing godly glow contained the great Tao of sealing. It was able to seal the flesh and soul of a person, but it was able to seal the heavens and earth and suppress the great Tao. To think that the famous inheritances of the ancient times have been hidden in this little mystical ground all this while. Even Qin Yu, who had mastered the 9 esotericas of the battle dragon, was astounded by the succession of the three emperors. During the ancient times, there were many demons and powerful cultivators. The three ancient emperors were able to become famous in the ancient times. Therefore, it was not difficult to imagine how shocking their mystical arts were. It was beyond everyone's expectation that the ancient imperial palace of the little martial realm was hiding such a great secret. Bang! As the succession of the three emperors was completed, God Force appeared on the three stone statues and merged with Qin Yu's body. Following this, Qin Yu's half-martial progenitor realm cultivation officially ranked up to the martial progenitor realm. The 5 elements, chaos, slaughter, lightning, and speed had completely transformed into the rules of the heavens and earth. Qin Yu sat with his legs crossed on the ground as he continued to refine the God Force left behind by the three emperors. The God Force contained the clear rules of the heavens and earth, allowing Qin Yu to comprehend the 5 ultimate meanings. As Qin Yu continued to improve his cultivation with the God Force of the three emperors, the ancient imperial palace. Make Shen Feng the emperor? Ancient emperor, I don't understand what you're trying to say. The one speaking was the supreme elder, Wei Yuanjiu. Apart from Wei Yuanjiu, the other elders of the martial progenitor realm were also confused. It's exactly what I said. From today onward, Shen Feng will be the new emperor of the ancient imperial palace. The ancient emperor, whose flesh had turned transparent due to the burning of his flesh, said calmly. Making Shen Feng the new emperor? What is he trying to do? Wei Yuanjiu's eyes flickered with astonishment when he saw the ancient emperor's calm expression. He could not figure out the ancient emperor's intention. After all, Qin Yu was only a disciple who had just joined the ancient imperial palace. He did not have a foundation in the ancient imperial palace, nor was he a descendant of the ancient emperor. Did the ancient emperor think that they would be willing to submit to Qin Yu just because of his divine body? One had to know that the ancient imperial hall had always believed in the strong. No matter how outstanding Qin Yu's talent was, he was only a genius. It was impossible for them to submit to Qin Yu. Letting a brat lead the ancient imperial palace? Before Wei Yuanjiu could speak, a dark-skinned elder in a purple robe stood out. The dark-skinned elder was called Wu Huangfeng, and he was a peak Nirvana realm martial progenitor. Among the elders of the ancient imperial palace, his strength was comparable to the supreme elder Wei Yuanzhou. He was one of the most popular people in the competition for the position of the ancient emperor. Ancient emperor, I can't agree with your decision. Although we've defeated the enemies from the Wang mansion, the news of your passing will spread throughout the martial world. Those king's mansions will definitely not let this matter rest. At this time, if we let a brat ascend to the throne, the entire martial arts world will be divided and become a pile of loose sand. Wu Huangfeng added, I agree with Elder Wu's words. That's right. The ancient imperial palace is in chaos now. No matter how talented Shen Feng is, we need someone to stabilize the ancient imperial palace and suppress the chaos in the martial world. That's right. We can delay the succession of the 3 emperors and the ancient emperor's son. However, we must suppress the chaos in the martial world. The other factions are already eyeing us. The martial progenitor elders in the ancient imperial palace agreed. They were all against Qin Yu becoming the ancient emperor. The martial progenitor realm elders belonged to different factions, but they were all on the same side at that instant. Even the martial progenitor elders of the ancient emperor's lineage remained silent. They could not understand the ancient emperor's decision. Even if the ancient emperor chose Chen Jiuxing or Chen Zilian as the next emperor, they would still fight for it. However, they could not accept Qin Yu. After all, Qin Yu was only an outsider to them. Chapter 275. I will not change my mind about making Shen Feng the emperor. That's because he is the only genius who has been recognized by the 3 emperors. As for whether Shen Feng can convince all of you to become the ancient emperor, that's up to him. I remember that when I became the ancient emperor, there were many people who opposed me. Therefore, we will follow the rules of the ancient imperial hall. The ancient emperor wasn't angry when he heard the opposition. His voice was calm as usual. He was about to pass away. Even if he suppressed all the elders, it wouldn't help Qin Yu become the ancient emperor. Ancient emperor, do you mean that we can challenge the new ancient emperor according to the rules of the hall? Whoever wins will ascend to the position of ancient emperor. The hall quietened down when they heard the ancient emperor's words. Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, and the others looked at the ancient emperor in disbelief. Isn't the ancient emperor too confident in Qin Yu? That's what I mean. The ancient emperor looked at Wei Yuanzhou and the others with a strange smile on his face. He knew what Wei Yuanzhou and the others were thinking. However, compared to Wei Yuanzhou and the others, the ancient emperor knew Qin Yu better. Just look at the battle at the barbarian god ruins. He knew that the barbarian god, who was a martial emperor, had died at the hands of Qin Yu. Moreover, if Qin Yu's background was as he had guessed, these people wouldn't be able to do anything to Qin Yu. He was relieved to hand the ancient imperial hall over to Qin Yu. Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, and the others couldn't help but look at each other with excitement in their eyes. No matter how strong Qin Yu's aptitude was, could it be that he could suppress them? My time is up. I'll make a move first. The ancient emperor stood up and walked to the top of the ancient imperial hall. There was an ancient stone pagoda there. The ancient emperors would pass away in that stone pagoda. As the ancient emperor stepped into the ancient stone pagoda, the stone pagoda emitted a dazzling divine light. A dazzling rainbow appeared in the sky. The divine light scattered and disappeared into the void. The divine power contained some of the great path of heaven and earth from the emperor of the ancients. The power of the great path was comprehended from heaven and earth. Naturally, it had to return to heaven and earth. Ancient emperor. Many people in the ancient imperial hall were sobbing. Even Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, and the others were deeply moved. An ancient emperor, a half-step martial emperor, had passed away just like that. As the ancient emperor passed away, Countless experts from the ancient Emperor Martial world sensed it and looked in the direction of the ancient Imperial Hall. The Emperor of the Ancients has passed away? At this moment, many experts and forces in the ancient Imperial Martial world started to get restless. If the ancient emperor hadn't burned his own flesh and blood to kill the 6 kings and severely injure the 4 kings in the battle of the ancient imperial palace, the ancient emperor wouldn't have died. The ancient imperial palace had probably been taken down long ago. Now that the ancient emperor was dead, the experts who had not joined the Martial Imperial Mansion's alliance were tempted. The news of the ancient emperor's death spread throughout the 7 great martial realms like a hurricane. Many forces that had been eyeing the ancient imperial martial world for a long time started to take action. Now was definitely the best time to take over the ancient imperial martial world. Supreme Elder, I think that we should immediately elect a new ancient emperor in order to prevent the invasion of the outside world. What do you think? Wu Huangfeng regained his senses and looked at Wei Yuanzhou. Among the top elders of the ancient imperial hall, there were a few people who had undergone the 9 reincarnation nirvana transformation. However, there was no doubt that Wei Yuanzhou was his greatest enemy. Back when the ancient emperor was succeeding the throne, Wei Yuanzhou had challenged the ancient emperor. Since the ancient emperor had made it clear that he wanted to appoint Xin Feng as the new ancient emperor, I think we should wait for Xin Feng to come out of the ancient emperor's secret realm before making a decision. Wei Yuanzhou noticed that the elders of the ancient emperor's bloodline were unhappy with Wu Huangfeng's words. He smiled gently and tried to win the hearts of the people. If the situation is stable, we will naturally have enough time to decide on a new ancient emperor. However, now is not the time to do so. Do you want to destroy the ancient imperial hall's thousands of years of foundation because of a brat? If that's the case, we will be letting down the ancient emperor, Wu Huangfeng said in a righteous tone. His words managed to convince the elders of the martial progenitor realm. Whoosh! At that instant, a figure flew out from the depths of the ancient imperial hall. Supreme Elder, Xin Feng and the others have come out of seclusion. It was a martial progenitor realm elder who was in charge of the core area. He has come out at the right time. Wei Yuanzhou smiled. If that's the case, bring him here. We can decide on the new ancient emperor today. Wu Huangfeng waved his hand and returned to the palace. The other elders also quickly returned to the main hall. They were quietly waiting for Qin Yu's arrival. Not long after, Qin Yu, Chen Jiuxing, and Chen Zilian arrived at the palace. Among the 10 people who had entered the ancient emperor's secret realm, Zhou Yunlang had been killed by Qin Yu, while the other 2 had died in the forbidden grounds. Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian wore sorrowful expressions. It was obvious that they had already known that the ancient emperor had passed away. They stood quietly after entering the palace. Many elders of the ancient emperor's lineage were comforting them. Among the juniors of the ancient emperor's lineage, Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian had the most outstanding talents. They were the most likely candidates to inherit the succession of the 3 martial emperors. In the future, they might be able to reclaim the position of the ancient emperor. However, Qin Yu's expression remained the same. After taking a glance at the elders in the palace hall, he started to walk toward the throne that was flickering with golden light. At the ancient emperor's secret realm, when he had brought Qin Yu to the 3 martial emperors' ancient palace, the ancient emperor had told Qin Yu about the possible situations that might occur after he passed away. Now, with a single glance, Qin Yu knew what was going on. "Junior, what are you trying to do?" Wei Yuanzhou raised his eyebrows when he saw Qin Yu ignoring them and walking toward the throne. Wu Huangfeng directly took a step forward. A tyrannical aura burst forth and stopped Qin Yu. "What am I trying to do? Of course I'm going to take over the position of the ancient emperor. Why didn't the ancient emperor announce it to you?" Qin Yu said calmly. "Kid, I thought that you would at least know your place. Now it seems like you don't know your place." Wu Huangfeng glanced at Qin Yu from the corner of his eyes. Qin Yu's aura was strange, and he couldn't determine his cultivation. However, Qin Yu was only a martial god when he had joined the ancient Emperor Palace. Even if he had obtained some fortunate encounter in the ancient Emperor's secret realm, he wouldn't be able to break through to the martial ancestor realm. In Wu Huangfeng's eyes, Lin Fan was like an ant that he could crush easily. Why? Are you going against the ancient Emperor's will? Qin Yu's expression did not change in the slightest. It was still tranquil. Before the ancient Emperor passed away, he did say that you would be the new Emperor. However, he also said that the ancient Emperor Palace has always respected the strong. Therefore, if you want to become the ancient Emperor, you have to gain the approval of all of the elders. Wu Huangfeng crossed his arms and smirked. Not convinced? If that's the case, let's fight. Qin Yu said in a shocking tone. Who's first? You? The other elders whispered in each other's ears. They were all rather surprised. This kid. Hearing that, Wei Yuanzhou also sized up Qin Yu in astonishment. He really could not tell where Qin Yu's indifferent and confident aura came from. Chapter 276. Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian, who had entered the ancient emperor mystical ground at the same time, wore strange looks on their faces. They had witnessed Qin Yu's arrogance more than once. However, it was different from the usual arrogance of a genius. It was as if Qin Yu's arrogance had penetrated deep into his bones, with the aura of a Xiantian realm expert. Qin Yu had been like this since the first time they had met him. However, he had only been dealing with martial god realm disciples in the past. Qin Yu's strength was extraordinary, thus he could easily crush his opponents with his arrogance. However, Qin Yu was currently facing a martial progenitor realm elder, an advanced martial progenitor. Humph! A mere kid like you is not worthy enough for me to fight you. Qin Yu's scornful attitude caused Wu Huangfeng's expression to darken further. Teach him a lesson, and let him know that he shouldn't be so arrogant just because he has some talents. Wu Huangfeng glanced at a martial progenitor realm elder. Even the weakest among those who were qualified to be here today was at least a 9th-layer martial progenitor realm. Therefore, only less than 100 martial progenitors had gathered at the ancient imperial palace. In the previous battle, the ancient imperial palace had lost more than 10 8th-layer and 9th-layer advanced martial progenitors. That being said, the number of casualties among the alliance was even higher. Xin Feng, it's rare to see someone with your talent. If you focus on your cultivation, it's only a matter of time before you become the ancient emperor. Why are you in such a rush? The martial progenitor stepped forward and said in a pleasant tone. The talents of the god flesh were not rare in the history of the ancient imperial martial world, but it had been over 1,000 years. As long as he did not die, it would not be difficult for him to become the ancient emperor. Therefore, he did not want to offend Qin Yu too much. You talk too much. If you don't dare to fight, stay aside. Don't jump around in front of me, it's an eyesore. Qin Yu did not need to show any mercy to those who were trying to stop him. Only with strength would he be recognized and respected by them. This was what it meant to be respected by the strong. Everything was based on strength. You overestimate yourself. The eyes of the 9th-layer martial progenitor realm elder flickered. A terrifying law of heaven and earth erupted from his body as he flew out of the hall and appeared in midair. Qin Yu showed no signs of fear. He took a step forward, and as fast as teleportation, he flew up into the air and stood in opposition. Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, Chen Jiuxing, Chen Zilian, and the others all flew out of the palace and watched from afar. They all wanted to see if Qin Yu really had the strength, or if he was just a fox pretending to be a tiger. 1,000 wind blades. The rules of wind around the martial progenitor realm elder went berserk, turning into thousands of dark blue tornadoes that tore the rift apart and whizzed past in a terrifying manner. Under the laws of heaven and earth, Even the simplest martial secret skill could unleash astonishing power. That's good. I'll use you to test the power of the three sovereigns. Seeing this, Qin Yu waved his hands in the air. The force of the heavens and earth visible to the naked eye gathered around Qin Yu's figure, which transformed into an ancient seal around a zhang tall. An ancient, mysterious, chaotic glow was emitted from the seal, which emitted an ancient aura, as if an ancient emperor was suppressing the rift. The indestructible stone emperor seal was formed with the force of the heavens and earth to protect the ancient seal. Although the force of the heavens and earth was different from the force of the heavens and earth that a martial monarch realm cultivator had comprehended, its power greatly surpassed the power of the martial progenitor realm. Clang, clang, clang. Just as the stone seal was formed, the wind blades that filled the sky came slashing down in an endless stream. They slashed against the indestructible stone emperor seal, causing intense explosions to ring out. The wind blades were shattered into pieces, but the indestructible stone emperor seal remained unharmed. Is that the indestructible stone emperor seal? The succession of the stone emperor. Wei Yuanju, Wu Huangfeng, and the rest of the elders were startled. Not only had Qin Yu's cultivation reached the martial progenitor realm, he had also acquired the succession of one of the three sovereigns, the Stone Emperor. The outcome greatly exceeded their expectations, causing them to find it hard to believe. His cultivation had reached the martial progenitor realm at such a young age, and he had even acquired the succession of the three sovereigns. Qin Yu's aptitude was truly a bit too universally shocking. The martial progenitor realm elders who had been looking down on Qin Yu immediately took Qin Yu seriously. No wonder Qin Yu was so confident facing the high-ranked martial progenitor realm cultivators. He's already been acknowledged by the three sovereigns? Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian were astounded too. They finally understood why their grandfather insisted on letting Qin Yu succeed as the ancient emperor. With Qin Yu's terrifying talent, his achievements would most likely surpass their grandfather's in the future. He might even be able to achieve the martial monarch realm. As expected of a defensive secret technique that was famous even in ancient times, Qin Yu wore a smile, as he was quite satisfied with the power of the indestructible Stone Emperor seal. The indestructible Stone Emperor seal and the dragon god tyrannical body, one had an unparalleled defense, while the other had an undefeatable flesh. The combination of the two was no joke. Humph, so what if you've acquired the succession of the Stone Emperor? Regardless of how outstanding your defensive technique is, you're still nothing but a live target. Wu Huangfeng collected his thoughts and said disdainfully. However, the astonishment in his eyes had yet to dissipate, which clearly indicated how important Qin Yu was to him. After all, Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the first layer martial progenitor realm, but he was able to resist the attack of a ninth layer martial progenitor realm cultivator. If Qin Yu's cultivation was also at the ninth layer martial progenitor realm, even if he had reached the ninth layer martial progenitor realm, he would not stand a chance against Qin Yu. Whoosh! Qin Yu, who had experienced the power of the indestructible Stone Emperor's seal, took the initiative to attack. He stepped in the air, and his figure flickered like a ghost, leaving behind numerous illusory afterimages in the void, making it impossible for others to determine the direction of his attack. Wind Demon Slaughter! The ninth layer martial progenitor realm elder withdrew his astonishment and yelled. The rules of wind gathered at a point and transformed into a murderous wind blade. The wind blade sliced through the rift, resulting in a piercing screech, as if a wind demon was crying. Seal! Qin Yu, whose movement was locked onto, felt his aura boiling like a river. He reached out his hand and summoned a mysterious ancient chain that wrapped around the demonic wind blade like a giant serpent. The wind blade spun rapidly and emitted a brilliant glow as it collided with the ancient chain. However, the ancient chain was indestructible, which firmly wrapped around the wind blade. Immortal binding chain? That's the Heavenly Battle Emperor transformation. Wei Yuanzhou took a deep breath and stared with his eyes open wide. The Heavenly Battle Emperor transformation was able to transform into any weapon in the world. Even in the history of the ancient imperial palace, only a few of the ancient emperors were able to comprehend the mystical ability. Not only had Qin Yu inherited the succession of the Stone Emperor, he had also inherited the Battle Emperor's god art, thus Wei Yuanzhou was dumbfounded. No way, however, Wei Yuanzhou's jaw dropped. Following this, he was left speechless like a wooden chicken. Dazzling divine light started to flicker on the body of Qin Yu who had rushed out. Everyone in the ancient imperial palace was familiar with the aura emitted by the glow. The succession of one of the three martial progenitors, the martial god emperor. Chapter 277. The succession of the three martial emperors. Seeing Qin Yu surrounded by a godly glow, the people of the ancient imperial palace stared with their eyes open wide. The Stone Martial Emperor, the Battle Martial Emperor, and the Martial Emperor. Qin Yu had inherited the successions of the three martial emperors. This had never happened before in the history of the ancient imperial palace. Qin Yu, what kind of law-defying talent did he have? Soul-sealing godly glow. Qin Yu struck out a palm strike from the sky. The divine light turned into a palm strike and was shot out. The void was split open like a wave. The ninth-layer martial progenitor realm elder's soul shuddered as his figure turned cold. Just as he was about to dodge, his soul was sealed, and he was suspended in midair like a puppet. The outcome was decided immediately. Those who are not convinced, come and fight me. Qin Yu withdrew the sealing godly glow and did not harm the martial progenitor's life. The martial progenitor realm elder was utterly astonished by the ease with which he was able to handle the situation. Previously, they had only treated Qin Yu seriously because of the succession of the three martial emperors. However, they no longer treated it seriously, as Qin Yu's strength was enough to suppress most of them. Most importantly, Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the first-layer martial progenitor realm. No one could predict how great Qin Yu's potential would be in the future. As a result, the elders who had no intention of supporting Qin Yu changed their mind. The wily Wei Yuanzhou only continues to size up Qin Yu and does not take the lead. However, Wu Huangfeng could not stand Qin Yu's arrogance. He flew into the air and glanced at Qin Yu from afar. Junior, if you can withstand 10 of my attacks, I'll acknowledge you as the martial emperor. Wu Huangfeng's figure was engulfed in a tremendous aura of the ninth-layer martial progenitor realm. Wei Yuanzhou could not help but shake his head. The strength of a ninth-layer martial progenitor realm cultivator was indeed significantly weaker than an ordinary ninth-layer martial progenitor realm cultivator. However, the succession of the three martial emperors was extremely famous in the ancient times. Wanting to defeat Qin Yu within 10 moves, Wu Huangfeng was a bit too arrogant. 10 moves? Humph, if you can withstand 3 of my attacks, I'll make you the ancient martial emperor. Qin Yu wore a mysterious grin as he sensed the power of laws from Wu Huangfeng's figure. 3 moves? The people of the ancient imperial palace were astounded seeing Qin Yu being more arrogant than Wu Huangfeng. The expression of Wei Yuanzhou, who had been shaking his head earlier, froze. Very well. Junior, I would like to see what you've got. Wu Huangfeng looked to Qin Yu with cold eyes. Having experienced the remarkable abilities of the three emperors, he no longer looked down on Qin Yu because of his arrogance. However, if Qin Yu wanted to defeat him in 3 moves, that would be no different from daydreaming. Bang! Without Huangfeng was Qin Yu, martial emperor. Thunderous roars, thunder martial emperor were heard, martial emperor, martial emperor, martial emperor, martial were martial whoosh. Divine light condensed in Qin Yu's palm and turned into a 5-colored divine banner. A boundless and ancient aura swept through the heaven and earth. On the banner, there were 5 colored lightning runes flashing, forming 5 colored thunderbolt. Within the banner, there was a 5-colored thunderbolt sea. That unparalleled thunderbolt fist radiance immediately disappeared without a trace when it hit the 5-colored divine banner. His appearance was like a stone that had fallen into a vast ocean. Lightning prohibiting banner. An astonished voice sounded. It was Wu Huangfeng who had attacked. He had recognized the 5-colored divine banner that Qin Yu had created. The lightning prohibiting banner was a famous weapon in the ancient times. It was rumored that it was created by the myriad lightning emperor and could seal all the lightning in the world. It could be said that the law of lightning that he had comprehended would be completely suppressed by the lightning prohibiting banner. First, it was the immortal binding lock, and now it's the lightning prohibiting banner. Where did Shen Feng come from? Wei Yuanzhou's eyes were filled with shock. His shock was not any weaker than when Qin Yu had obtained the inheritance of the 3 sovereigns. The War Emperor transformation could indeed create all the weapons in the world and adapt to all kinds of battles. However, divine weapons were not something that could be created just because one wanted to. If one wanted to completely create a weapon, one had to understand the weapon's spirituality. Only then could one create the weapon's abilities. If Qin Yu had created an ordinary sacred artifact or even a divine artifact, Wei Yuanzhou would not have been so shocked. However, what Qin Yu had created was a legendary weapon from the ancient times. Moreover, the magical effects of the weapon seemed to be exactly the same as in the rumors. This was shocking. Could it be that Qin Yu had seen with his own eyes and had even come into contact with those divine weapons? This made Wei Yuanzhou even more curious about Qin Yu's background. Humph! I want to see how you will block this attack. A thunderstone appeared in Wu Huangfeng's hand. Ancient thunder runes flashed on the thunderstone, and vast thunder exploded. The area within a radius of several thousand feet was covered by thunder. The majestic thunder was like a raging sea, rampaging in the void and then turning into ferocious thunder beasts. The aura of each thunder beast was no weaker than the thunder fist from before. Go! Wu Huangfeng shouted angrily. He pointed at Qin Yu from afar. The thunder beasts covered the sky and the earth, pouncing and biting at Qin Yu. It was like a tide of beasts that could destroy everything. Good, I will borrow your thunder. Thunder God Seal. Qin Yu's hands changed, and his 10 fingers quickly formed hand seals. As divine light spread, ancient thunder seals intertwined. At the same time, azure dragon runes appeared in Qin Yu's body, spreading through his flesh and bones. Qin Yu's aura immediately skyrocketed. How is this possible? Wu Huangfeng exclaimed in shock. It was not because of Qin Yu's skyrocketing aura. It was because at this moment, all the thunder in the void was attracted by the ancient thunder seal and broke free from his control. His thunder laws were not under his control? Even if such a shocking thing really happened, he still found it hard to believe. Thunder God Hammer! Qin Yu's hands changed again. The Thunder God seal flew into the sky and absorbed all the thunder power in the world, turning into a giant hammer that was thousands of feet long. Countless ancient runes covered the giant hammer. Although it was a divine weapon, it was lifelike and exuded a vast divine power. The Thunder God Seal and Thunder God Hammer were the top emperor weapons that Qin Yu had created in his previous life. He had comprehended many great Daos in his previous life. However, the Great Tao of Thunder was one of the few Great Daos that had evolved into the Great Tao of Heaven and Earth. Boom! An earth-shattering thunder exploded, as if the 9 heavens had exploded and the sky had collapsed. The Thunder God Hammer was like a giant mountain that was thousands of feet long. With Wu Huangfeng at the center, the space around him began to distort and vibrate, as if it was about to shatter. Wu Huangfeng, who had nowhere to run, used his thunder laws to resist. However, all of the lightning energy he unleashed was absorbed by the Thunder God's hammer. Instead, it was the Thunder God's hammer that absorbed it. Poof! Wu Huangfeng's body shook violently, and his thunder laws were scattered. He fell from the sky and his aura was chaotic and weak. Defeated in less than 3 moves, looking at the defeated Wu Huangfeng, the entire ancient imperial hall was dead silent. Wu Huangfeng's combat strength was definitely one of the top experts in the ancient imperial hall, second only to the ancient emperor. Yet now, under the hands of Qin Yu, he was unable to even last 3 moves. Such strength made them feel as if they had seen the ancient emperor reborn. Chapter 278. Cough cough. Wu Huangfeng barely managed to stabilize his body. He was about to fly into the air again when he coughed violently and spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Yu's attack had severely injured him. He could only utilize less than half of his strength. Who else is not convinced? Qin Yu ignored Wu Huangfeng and raised the Thunder God's hammer with his right hand. He turned around and glanced at Wei Yuanzhou and the others. Although Qin Yu's voice was not loud, it was clearly heard by the people of the ancient imperial hall. The martial progenitors subconsciously glanced at Wei Yuanzhou. Since Wu Huangfeng had been defeated in 3 moves, only Wei Yuanzhou, the supreme elder of the ancient imperial hall, stood a chance. Ancient Emperor! Looking at Qin Yu's calm and dignified eyes, after a while, Wei Yuanzhou bowed. Ancient Emperor! The elders of the martial progenitor realm immediately bowed, as if they had just woken up from a dream. Greetings, Emperor! The rest of the people of the ancient imperial hall dropped to their knees. Even the ordinary martial progenitors dropped to their knees. They glanced at Qin Yu with respect, as if they were looking at the ancient emperor. It was a look of respect for an expert. Only an absolute powerhouse could make them willingly kneel and submit to him. Great! Seeing Qin Yu, who had successfully suppressed everyone from the ancient imperial palace, Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian both displayed smiles on their faces. Qin Yu had successfully become the ancient emperor. He had not let their grandfather down. Rise! Qin Yu waved his hand and dispersed the Thunder God's hammer. The 3 ancient emperor skills turned into the force of the heavens and earth and returned to the ancient imperial hall. He returned to the palace with a kick. As I thought, Wei Yuanzhou raised his head. His eyes flickered as he sensed the strong force of the heavens and earth. Qin Yu, who had inherited the 3 emperor's skills, was able to control the force of the heavens and earth in the Sumeru realm. In other words, no one in the ancient imperial hall was a match for Qin Yu. According to the ancient records, in the history of the ancient emperor hall, there had been 2 people who had comprehended the inheritance of the ancient emperor. He had also used the power of heaven and earth in the ancient imperial palace for his own use, but his prowess was far from Qin Yu's. It was precisely because he understood this point that Wei Yuanzhou directly submitted. No matter how strong Qin Yu was outside the ancient imperial hall, the ancient imperial hall would be. At the very least, no one in the ancient imperial hall could suppress Qin Yu. What's the situation with the forces in the ancient imperial martial world now? Qin Yu sat on the main seat and asked. The position of the ancient emperor wasn't easy to sit on. Not only did he have to suppress the forces inside the ancient imperial palace, but he also had to suppress the forces outside the ancient imperial palace. This was also the reason why Qin Yu hadn't been willing to take over the position of the ancient emperor. Because to him, this was too much of a waste of time. Previously, when the alliance of the 5 top-notch kings invaded, the ancient emperor killed 6 kings and severely injured 4 kings before retreating temporarily. However, now that the emperor of the ancients has passed away, I believe that they will definitely gather a large number of troops to invade again. As for their specific movements, we will have to wait for the reports from our spies. Wei Yuanzhou said. Pass down the order. Within 3 days, all the lords of the king's residences have to swear allegiance in the ancient imperial palace. Those who submit, I can let bygones be bygones for their previous betrayals. However, Those who continue to persist will have their entire families exterminated. Qin Yu thought for a moment and ordered. 3 days? Ancient Emperor, since they've already rebelled, there's no way they'll submit. We can't give them 3 days to calm down. Now we should strike like lightning and eliminate them one by one. The pale-faced Wu Huangfeng hurriedly said. Although he coveted the position of Ancient Emperor, he was still loyal to Ancient Emperor Hall. Elder Wu's words make sense. Wei Yuanzhu agreed with Wu Huangfeng. The allied forces of the Martial Imperial Mansion had just suffered a great defeat. Out of the 10 king mansions, 6 of them had fallen. There would definitely be a power struggle between the 6 kings' palaces, and the people's hearts would definitely be shaken. Therefore, now was the best time to strike. I know what to do. Just do as I say. Prepare yourselves for the next 3 days. You're dismissed. Qin Yu waved his hand and decided to have all of the elders disperse. You two follow me. However, Qin Yu asked Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian to stay and led them to the core area of the ancient imperial palace. What do you think the ancient emperor is thinking? Why do I feel like the ancient emperor is purposely giving the king's palaces 3 days? Wei Yuanzhu, Wu Huangfeng, and the rest of the elders, who had left the palace with doubts, blurted out, I have the same feeling too. Could it be that the ancient emperor is planning to eliminate all the rebellious king's palaces? That's impossible, right? Great Elder Wu, what do you think? The martial progenitors discussed among themselves and glanced at Wei Yuanzhu and Wu Huangfeng. I can't see through it. Wu Huangfeng shook his head. Similar to how he could not see through Qin Yu's strength, he could not understand Qin Yu's decision either. He had no idea what Qin Yu's real intention was. However, the words of the elder just now still lingered in his heart. It was highly possible that Qin Yu was planning to eliminate all the rebellious king's palaces. Although the ancient emperor is still young, he's definitely not an ordinary person since he's able to obtain the recognition of the 3 successions of the ancient emperors. He must have his own plans. Therefore, don't overthink it. Go and prepare yourselves. Either way, a great battle will take place in 3 days. Wei Yuanzhu said. When the elders heard this, they began to discuss among themselves and dispersed. In the core area of the ancient imperial palace, there was a palace surrounded by a terrifying barrier. Junior brother Shinfeng, this is the forbidden area of the ancient imperial palace. Only the ancient emperors are allowed to enter. Chen Zilian said when she saw Qin Yu taking out the ancient seal to break the barrier. It's fine, come in. Qin Yu said nonchalantly. Indeed, only the ancient emperors were allowed to enter the palace. However, there were no treasures hidden in the palace, but the history of the ancient imperial palace. The palace was huge, and there was nothing inside except for a 10-foot-tall ancient tablet. The word Wu on the ancient tablet exuded a strong divine power. It was the pressure of the 3 successions of the ancient emperors. Qin Yu looked calm as he walked to the front of the stone tablet. Jiu Xing and Chen Zilian were unable to move as they broke out in cold sweat. From today onwards, the 2 of you will cultivate here. Qin Yu said to Chen Jiu Xing and Chen Zilian, who felt as though they were under heavy pressure. Why? Chen Jiu Xing and Chen Zilian were confused as they did not understand what Qin Yu meant. This is your grandfather's wish. He hopes that the 2 of you will be the next ancient emperor when I leave the ancient imperial palace. Therefore, the 2 of you will cultivate here from today onwards. You can come out only when you obtain the recognition of the 3 successions of the ancient emperors. Qin Yu said. You're leaving? Chen Jiu Xing and Chen Zilian were surprised. I can tell the 2 of you that I won't be staying in the ancient imperial palace for long. Therefore, the 2 of you don't have much time left. After saying that, Qin Yu turned around and looked at the ancient tablet. Chapter 279. Hearing this, Chen Jiuxing and Chen Zilian sat down cross-legged and carefully felt the divine power in the 3 emperors' aura. Today's battle between Qin Yu and Wu Huangfeng made them very clear. Even if Qin Yu left in the future and let them succeed the throne, they had to be strong enough to convince the masses. Otherwise, they might be ousted by others like today. Qin Yu stretched out his hand and touched the ancient tablet with ancient words. Soon, he obtained the information contained in the ancient tablet and knew the origin of the ancient imperial palace. In ancient times, the ancient imperial martial world wasn't named after the ancient imperial emperor. It was called the ancient imperial martial arts realm because the three emperors were born here and it was the ancestral land of the three emperors. Unfortunately, the ancient imperial martial arts realm was too long ago, and very few people knew the reason. Therefore, many forces in the seven major martial arts realms thought that the ancient imperial palace was the ancient imperial palace. It was because the ancient imperial palace unified the entire ancient imperial martial arts realm that it was named after the ancient imperial palace. In the past, when the three emperors were famous in the sky domain, the descendants of the three emperors also rose and established the Sky Imperial Palace. At that time, the Sky Imperial Palace was the top force in the sky domain and was comparable to the ancient families. However, after the three emperors left and the ancient chaos, the Sky Imperial Palace's power weakened. The ancient Imperial Palace was established during a great disaster so that the inheritance of the three emperors would not be lost. The Sky Imperial Palace sent the descendants of the ancient emperors to the ancestral land of the three emperors and established the ancient Imperial Palace. Since then, the descendants of the ancient emperors had been protecting the ancient Imperial Palace and had even unified the entire ancient Imperial martial arts realm. However, the Sky Imperial Palace did not fall in that disaster and had safely survived. Now, it was one of the top forces in the sky domain's spirit state. This was the situation of the top forces in the seven major martial arts realms that had never interfered with the ancient imperial martial arts realm. This time, the ancient imperial palace was facing a crisis and the position of the ancient emperor might change hands. The ancient emperor had planned to go to the spirit state to invite experts to suppress the chaos in the ancient imperial martial arts realm. Later, because of Qin Yu's appearance, the ancient emperor believed that Qin Yu could suppress the ancient imperial martial arts realm. That was why Qin Yu was allowed to inherit the power of the three emperors and become the next emperor of the ancients. The reason why the ancient emperor appointed Qin Yu, an outsider, as the next ancient emperor, was that he didn't invite masters from the spiritual state. Firstly, it was because their branch had been exiled in the ancient imperial martial world for all these years, and they had been ignored. He had distanced himself from the descendants of the three emperors of the spiritual state. Secondly, the ancient imperial palace was founded by their ancestors. Once they invited masters from the spiritual state, they would never be able to take the throne of the ancient emperors. The heavenly imperial palace of the spiritual state is actually a descendant of the three ancient emperors. Qin Yu withdrew his hand as thoughts flashed through his mind. The heaven domain was divided into the 9 prefectures. Although the 10,000 races were scattered throughout the 9 prefectures, each of them had their own division of power. Once a powerful force crossed the border, a war between 2 prefectures or even several prefectures could break out. However, among the 9 continents, the spiritual state was the most unique place where countless masters from tens of thousands of races gathered. It was because the spiritual state was connected to the extraterritorial battlefield. Qin Yu had been to the foreign battlefields many times, so he was quite familiar with the situation in the spiritual state. As the top force in the spiritual state, Qin Yu had naturally heard of the heavenly imperial palace. Without a doubt, as a top force in the spiritual state, the heavenly imperial palace was definitely a dominating force in the entire heavenly realm. One had to know that the 7 martial realms were only a part of the Huntian imperial realm in the 3 emperor realms. The 3 emperor realms were only a region in the East continent, one of the 9 continents in the heavenly realm. One could imagine how powerful the heavenly imperial palace was. This was also why the ancient emperor wasn't afraid of the myriad ghost palace, which was backed by the heaven-suppressing ghost emperor. Naturally, the heavenly imperial palace was far inferior to the ghost emperor's sacred island, which was guarded by the heaven-suppressing ghost emperor. However, the myriad ghost palace was the myriad ghost palace, and the ghost emperor's sacred island was the ghost emperor's sacred island. The two weren't the same force. The myriad ghost palace was only a small branch force under the heaven-suppressing ghost emperor. The ancient imperial palace, on the other hand, had the inheritance stone statues of the three emperors. If the martial emperors of the myriad ghost palace came to invade the ancient imperial palace, the heavenly imperial palace wouldn't sit idly by. After learning about the background of the ancient imperial palace, Qin Yu sealed the palace and left. If he ordered the ancient imperial palace's imperial palace to submit to him, it would definitely cause a great turmoil. Therefore, a great battle was inevitable in 3 days. Qin Yu had to be prepared. This time, he couldn't let go of the fish that escaped the net. Qin Yu's purpose was just as Wei Yuanjiu, Wu Huangfeng, and the others had guessed. He wanted to destroy the imperial palace's forces that rebelled and end it once and for all. Qin Yu really didn't have that much time to hunt down and destroy those imperial palaces one by one. Therefore, he gave them 3 days to gather. With Qin Yu's current combat strength, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was invincible in the martial ancestor realm. When fighting against Wu Huangfeng, Qin Yu had mobilized the power of heaven and earth in the ancient imperial palace. But aside from slightly using the azure dragon battling the heavens, he didn't use any of his powerful trump cards. The development of the matter was just as Qin Yu had expected. When the ancient imperial palace sent out the order for all the imperial palaces to submit to the new emperor, the imperial palace's imperial palace remained silent. But in the ancient imperial martial world, all the forces of the imperial palaces remained silent. But in the dark, there were turbulent undercurrents. None of the imperial palaces had expected that the ancient imperial palace would send out such an order after the ancient emperor passed away, asking all the imperial palaces to submit to him. This made them unable to figure out the ancient imperial palace's purpose. They were all thinking of ways to find out what had happened in the ancient imperial palace. Ancient imperial martial world, Scarlet Sun Martial King Palace. In the room, a figure sat cross-legged. The sword and tent around him was so strong that it seemed to have materialized. It even tore the void apart. This person was the Scarlet Sun Martial King, Zhou Pingyang. In the battle of the ancient imperial palace, among the 4 people who had luckily escaped from the ancient emperor, his injuries were the most severe. This was because the ancient emperor had targeted him and wanted to kill him. If it wasn't for his good luck, the ancient emperor's old injuries would have flared up and his flesh would have burned. Boom, boom, boom. Right at this moment, someone knocked on the door. Before Zhou Pingyang could say anything, a figure pushed the door open and entered. It was a man in black robes. His gaze was cold and the aura he emitted was eerie. This man was actually cultivating the extremely rare Tao of ghost cultivators. Martial King Scarlet Sun, long time no see. The black-robed man looked at Zhou Pingyang, who was treating his injuries, and smiled eerily. I've already said that I don't need the help of the 9 Ghosts Hall for the ancient imperial palace. You still dare to barge into my imperial palace. Do you really think that I won't dare to kill you? Zhou Pingyang's gaze was as sharp as a sword. Even his voice was bone-piercing. Haha, don't be so sure. I have some information here. You can take a look. The black-robed man wasn't bothered by Zhou Pingyang's terrifying sword intent. He flicked his finger and an ancient scroll flew towards Zhou Pingyang. This is... Zhou Pingyang's gaze sank after he read the ancient scroll. Chapter 280. Is this information true? Zhou Pingyang's sword intent became sharper. If you don't believe me, you can send someone to check it out yourself. I'm sure it won't be difficult for you to find out the truth with your background. The black-robed man said. Zhou Pingyang's expression became uncertain. There was no need for the Nine Ghosts Hall to use fake information that could be easily found to fool him. Martial King Qiyang, you formed an alliance with the 5 top monarch palaces and tried to rope in the other monarch palaces to destroy the ancient imperial palace. As for who will become the ancient emperor in the future, you will choose from the 5 monarch palaces. It's a pity that although your plan is outstanding, the other 4 top monarch palaces think that you are too powerful. Therefore, they only contacted the other forces of the martial world. I'm sure that when the ancient imperial palace is destroyed, it will be the day you fall. The black-robed man looked at Zhou Pingyang with a smile. Other than the forces of the martial world in this information, which other martial worlds are trying to split the ancient imperial martial world? Zhou Pingyang asked coldly. As far as I know, the other 6 martial worlds are more or less ready to take action. However, the only forces that are involved are the Ghost Martial World, the Spiritual Martial World, and the Coiling Flame Martial World. I'm sure the forces of the other 3 martial worlds want to take advantage of the fight between the Sandpiper and the Clam. It's only a matter of time before they interfere. The black-robed man said. Zhou Pingyang's heart sank. The chaos caused by the passing of the ancient emperor was far beyond his imagination. In the past, when the ancient emperor was alive, the other 6 martial worlds didn't dare to touch the ancient imperial martial world. Now that the ancient emperor had just passed away, it had attracted countless wolves and tigers. In this way, even if he became the ancient emperor, his status wouldn't be much higher than it was now. Suddenly, Zhou Pingyang, who was looking at the scroll in deep thought, exclaimed in surprise, "Why? Is there a problem?" The black-robed man asked in surprise. The forces that are interfering don't seem to be the top forces of the imperial domain. Zhou Pingyang squinted his eyes. This made him a little surprised. Could it be that the ancient imperial palace really had some backing? Otherwise, why didn't the top forces of the 3 major martial arts worlds make a move? Given the style of those top forces, they naturally won't get involved at this time. They will only appear when the ancient imperial hall is destroyed and the benefits are divided. After all, this is related to the resources of the entire martial arts world. Even the top forces would not let go of such a fat piece of meat. The black-robed man sneered. No power would be willing to submit. They were only willing to submit because they couldn't stand up to those peak powers. It was just like how the ancient imperial palace had submitted to the ancient imperial palace. Are you really willing to give up? In the end, you won't get anything and will even be kicked out by them? Seeing that Zhou Pingyang was deep in thought, the black-robed man provoked him. Judging from this information, none of the powers that have interfered in this matter are weaker than your 9 Ghosts Hall. Even if they join hands with you, what can they possibly do? In the end, I still won't get anything. Since that's the case, why should I waste my effort to destroy the ancient imperial hall and benefit others? Zhou Pingyang looked straight at the black-robed man. If it wasn't for the entire ancient imperial martial world, I wouldn't have come to join hands with you again and again. Martial King Scarlet Sunday, the black-robed man laughed. Could it be that your 9 Ghosts Hall has the power to fight against the 6 great martial worlds? The corner of Zhou Pingyang's eyes twitched. The black-robed man moved his hand and a pitch-black ancient token appeared in his hand. It was surrounded by demonic qi. The Demon Lord's token? Zhou Pingyang's expression changed. The pitch-black ancient token surrounded by demonic qi represented a famous expert of the demonic path. The Lord of the Demonic Path, Mo Changsheng. He was a ruthless person who had once unified all the forces of the demonic path in the 3 martial worlds. How is it, Martial King Scarlet Sun? Do you have confidence in our 9 Ghosts Hall now? The black-robed man said. As far as I know, the Demon Lord has rarely shown himself since he founded the Heavenly Demon Sect. He didn't even appear when the Demonic Path Alliance was destroyed. Will the Demon Lord intervene in this matter? Zhou Pingyang asked slowly. The Demon Lord has been conserving his strength before this. Now that the opportunity has come, he will naturally come out, the black-robed man said. After destroying the ancient Imperial Palace and taking over the ancient Imperial Martial World, how are we going to split the benefits? With Mo Changxing's existence, Zhou Pingyang had to look at the Nine Ghosts Hall in a new light. Under such circumstances, Zhou Pingyang didn't dare to dream of dominating the entire ancient Imperial Martial World. The only thing he could do was to fight for the greatest benefit. 2/3 of the ancient Imperial Martial World will belong to your Scarlet Sun Martial King Palace. 1/3 will belong to my Nine Ghosts Hall. Of course, on the surface, you will be the ancient emperor so that the other martial palaces will submit to you. Our Nine Ghosts Hall will hide in the dark. If there are any external forces invading, we will fight against them together. What do you think? The black-robed man said. What about the Demon Lord? He won't want anything, right? Zhou Pingyang's eyes lit up. This suggestion was beneficial to him. I forgot to mention this. The Demon Lord wants the summer world of the ancient Imperial Palace. The black-robed man said. When Zhou Pingyang heard this, he was enlightened. It turned out that the Demon Lord wanted the ancient Imperial Palace's inheritance of the three sovereigns. 3 days later, I will join forces with the other martial palaces to destroy the ancient Imperial Palace before dealing with the other martial palaces. After pondering for a while, Zhou Pingyang agreed. Although he wanted to get his hands on the inheritance of the three sovereigns, given the current situation, getting 2/3 of the ancient Imperial Palace's resources was already beyond his expectations. With these resources, the Scarlet Sun Martial King Palace wouldn't have to worry about not becoming a top force in a few decades. At that time, it wouldn't be impossible for them to take back the summer world of the ancient Imperial Palace and unify the ancient Imperial Martial World. Then, I wish us a pleasant cooperation. The black-robed man smiled and turned around to leave. When the Scarlet Sun Martial King Palace and the Nine Ghosts Hall joined forces. In the ancient Imperial Martial World, there were many powerful martial palaces that had come into contact with external forces. Each of them had their own ambitions. Of course, if they wanted to realize their ambitions, they would have to destroy the ancient Imperial Palace first. Therefore, no matter how many tricks they had in the dark, they were all working closely together on the surface and discussing about forming an alliance. The entire ancient Imperial Martial World was filled with an oppressive feeling that a storm was coming. 2 days later, in the ancient Imperial Palace, Senior Brother Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged in the palace, suddenly opened his eyes. A figure appeared. It was Lin Chongqing. Junior Brother, you seem to be in a lot of trouble recently. It seems like the ancient Imperial throne isn't easy to sit on. Lin Chongqing took a glance at Qin Yu. A smile appeared on his face. He could tell that Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the martial ancestor realm. It wouldn't be difficult for him to calm the chaos in the ancient Imperial Martial World. They're just a bunch of ants. What trouble are they? Qin Yu smiled nonchalantly. In the past 2 days, the movements of the various martial palaces in the ancient Imperial Martial World had been clearly reported to him through spies. The situation was developing in the direction he had expected. Chapter 281. I'm here because I have something to tell you. Seeing Qin Yu's expression, Lin Chongqing knew that he didn't need to do anything to stop the chaos in the ancient Imperial Martial World. What is it? Seeing Lin Chongqing's serious expression, Qin Yu also became serious. Some time ago, Xingluo appeared, and for some reason, he came to the ancient Imperial Martial World. Lin Chongqing said seriously. Xingluo's appearance here made him wonder if Qin Yu's identity had been discovered. That was why he had gone to investigate the matter. Unfortunately, with his current cultivation, he couldn't find Xingluo after leaving the 7 major martial world. I know. I've seen him. Qin Yu had a cold smile on his face. You have seen him? Lin Chongqing looked at Qin Yu in disbelief. How could Qin Yu still be alive after meeting Xingluo? I've seen him, but he didn't recognize me. As for his purpose, I know it's for this. Qin Yu moved his right hand, and the ancient immortal token that was sealed by the sealing divine light appeared in his hand. This is the ancient immortal token? Lin Chongqing exclaimed when he saw the ancient immortal token. He recognized it. Eldest senior brother, you know about this ancient immortal token? Qin Yu was stunned. He didn't think of his eldest senior brother. 100 years after you died, an immortal ancient relic appeared in the divine land. At that time, 5 ancient immortal tokens flew out of the immortal ancient relic, but they were all taken by the top sovereigns. Little junior brother, where did you get this? Lin Chongqing asked with some doubts. I got it from Ghost Emperor Jin Tian. Qin Yu briefly told him about the feud between him and the myriad ghost palace. Xingluo and Ghost Emperor Jin Tian care so much about this ancient immortal token. Lin Chongqing looked at the ancient immortal token curiously. Both Xingluo and Ghost Emperor Jin Tian were the top sovereigns in the heavenly domain. It was definitely not an ordinary immortal treasure for them to care so much about it. However, for some reason, the ancient immortal badge Qin Yu had obtained had the ability to absorb souls. It was impossible to tell what secrets were hidden within the ancient immortal badge. Other than the Star Luo matter, 2 martial emperors from the 10,000 Ghost Palace came. They are currently searching for us everywhere. So, little junior brother, it's best that you don't use the divine abilities you've displayed before so easily, Lin Chongqing said. If he was at his peak, he would not even care about 2 puny martial emperors. But now, things were very different. Senior brother, don't worry. I already know about this. I won't let anyone discover my identity. Qin Yu had already heard about this from the ancient emperor. With the succession of the 3 martial emperors, Qin Yu no longer had to rely too much on the 9 secrets of the battle dragon and the martial arts of the dragon tribe. Seeing Qin Yu's arrival, the martial progenitors immediately greeted him. They're here, Wei Yuanzhu said with a stern expression. How many are there? Qin Yu asked. This time, there are 32 royal palaces that have formed an alliance. The number of martial progenitors is around 6,000. Wu Huangfeng wore a stern expression too. In the previous battle, the ancient Emperor Temple had lost over 1,000 martial progenitors, thus they could only gather around 3,000 people. The number of martial progenitors on the side of the royal palaces was more than double their number. They suffered a great loss in the previous battle too. Why are there still so many martial progenitors? An elder of the advanced martial progenitor realm blurted out. The other elders were also whispering to each other. If there were 32 royal palaces, it could be said that all the royal palaces in the ancient Emperor martial realm had formed an alliance. However, there shouldn't be so many martial progenitors. In the ancient imperial martial world, they had a rough idea of how many martial ancestors there were. According to our spies, it's likely that some factions from other martial realms are involved, Wu Huangfeng said. This was a situation that they had not anticipated. It doesn't matter how many people there are. Have you made the arrangements? Qin Yu's expression remained calm as usual. It's done. Wei Yuanzhu nodded. Let's stick to the plan then. This time, we must eliminate the royal palaces that have rebelled, or the factions from other martial realms that are trying to take advantage of the situation. Qin Yu rose from the ground and flew into the sky, opening the summer gate of the ancient Emperor Temple. Wei Yuanzhu, Wu Huangfeng, and the rest of the elders immediately followed behind him. Over 3,000 martial progenitors followed Qin Yu and stood on both sides of the summer gate in a mystical manner. Qin Yu stood at the front and calmly glanced into the distance, at the figures that were gradually appearing. Before the figures arrived, a terrifying murderous aura swept toward the crowd, causing their hearts to skip a beat. A few moments later, the figures clearly appeared before the eyes of the people of the ancient Emperor Temple, facing one another from a few hundred zhang away. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.